Good morning, one and all.
Juicy news is afoot, dropping in the dead of night, like the 16 trailer. We gonna cover it.
We are.
Wow! There's quite a wash, a whitewash.
Yes, that was the first one I saw this morning.
Yeah.
Kotaku.
16 details, and some of them might be a bit controversial, others curious. Tally ho, 10-4. Wow! Top of the morning, my fellow peasants. How you all doing?
Good morning.
Right, it's another early start.
It is.
8 a.m. Let's go.
Yes.
How are you guys? Amazing way to wake up. It is waking up to 16 juicies. Yeah, man. And I've only had the smallest amount of time to peruse through. A lot of it's going to be on the fly, and I don't really know how to break this up. I think I'm going to cover the 16 juicies, and then cover the uber controversial point that's coming out.
There's always one. There's always a controversy between something when it's getting released.
Yeah.
So.
You guys probably already have seen the news, right? Seen the Yoshida interview. Well, yeah, see, James Litz is already sort of covering it. Yeah. Listia being a continent, not a world. Yeah, we're going to get onto that. But, all right, here we go. Let's... Right. So many tabs. Because there was quite a lengthy interview, and it's split across so many articles, people translating tidbits or not putting the full article out. There's some people who seem like they very much pick and choose which specific details and answers they present. Yeah. So then they can weave a narrative. Yes, I'm looking at you, Kotaku. Yeah, which causes a bit of controversy, causes a bit of...
It's not great when they do it like that, because you're not getting the whole picture and it puts things out of context.
Yeah, and it took a lot of people in the comments of the Kotaku article, which we're going to cover. They were going off the deep end. And then it took somebody adding the full Yoshi P answer, which added a lot more.
Yes.
Jumping in with the first most exciting part, before we get in, I just want to see how you guys are feeling on this resplendent of mornings. I'm so hungry.
I've only had one
pitiful mochi. There was one pitiful mochi, and me and Ginge, we tussled to the death for it. I won.
Oh, sure. Is that I can leave then? We did.
Yeah, we'll touch the IGN piece last. Yeah. I'm gonna probably have a chat with you guys, get your guys' little comments and ideas in, so when we stick this vid out. But yeah, it's kind of annoying. Well, it's not annoying. But it's interesting that this 16 info is coming out just as I was on the cusp of finishing, and you probably... Anyone watching this when I upload this main channel, shortly after there's going to be a little 16 theory vid. Whilst walking through the Kuala Lumpur jungle,
looking good.
We had a big chat, and actually this interview confirms some of the things that we were postulating. I'm just going to dive straight in and say one of those things being we were sort of walking through the jungle, and I was talking a lot about the crystals. Yeah. How many of them there are. The game only presents to us 5. But we're pretty damn certain there's a 6th.
We are.
And you guys might reckon the 6th one is. And that is, it's kind of 1 crystal per nation. And that it fits because proximity of the crystals in Valencia is necessary for people to survive. Humans, it's not just, it nourishes the land, which makes it habitable. It's actually the case that humans actually need to go and hop on a crystal sunbed. Yeah. And getting a nice old
bask in the life of the crystal.
Yeah, man, they literally need to do some basking. I hope we get some crystal bikini basking throughout the game. Just like hot, sexy Hojo babes basking in the crystal. And the Northern Territory, which does have blighted inland sections, it's got to have a crystal out there. And we think we found it. And then that kind of extrapolated onto what we were picking up from the Exodus story, which is all going to be coming in these theory vids.
Mike is kind of cut.
Oh, is it? Oh, no. Hello, hello, hello.
That's a new one.
Hello, hello.
Always sending us different
tech issues each day.
Tech issues. Nothing has changed since yesterday.
Welcome to my world, mate. At this point, it's really comforting to me that Ginger's here and having these tech issues, because I thought it was me. I thought maybe it is me. Maybe my head just has too much of a big gravitational interference zone.
The only thing I can assume is because we pump the volume up. Is it the limiter? Do you think is cutting it out when we go higher up? Would that be the case?
I don't know. How much is it cutting up? It's more when you pause in conversation. It sharply cuts. Hard to explain.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be the noise gate, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Or is it the suppression?
Could be the noise gate. Then.
Yeah. The problem is it's very hot and muggy here in nature. So we tried to stream without an aircon. You just hear it in the background.
Yeah.
So we had to put like a noise gate on.
Yeah.
Which opens.
I'll bring it down. Do these bits down and see if that helps.
Yeah.
Let me know, guys, if it's.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so we were kind of diving into the Exodus stories, the Old Testament, the Book of Joshua, which, as you're going to see in the Jungle vid, literally written by Joshua. Literally written by Joshua. And that one of the big kind of elements of the story is the warring tribes of Israel. That those who pray to the correct gods, they gain favour in battle, what happens between marriages. And one of the kind of juicy details was that there were 12 tribes of Israel. And we were like, well, there's got to be 6 crystals. This interview does confirm there are 6 nations. And we were kind of getting a 2 per crystal theme. And I think Yoshi P has come out and kind of emphasised that. He's disbanded the idea that, and people got it off in the translations, that it's 1 icon per nation. And we worked that out pretty early. That can't really be the case. And then we were thinking, is it like a 2 per crystal thing? Not a 1 per nation, but a 2 per crystal. And he kind of comes out and says that we're load. It is. It's Garuda and Odin. So Barnabas and Benedicta from there. So you've got Ifrit and Phoenix from Drake's Breath. We were thinking, obviously, Titan and the exclamation mark. I think we got detail on that now.
We have.
Because it looked like one that it looked dormant. Right? When Clive, as Ifrit, throws a fireball at it, it kind of looks like he's throwing it into the side of a mountain.
Yeah. But
what you notice in the mountain is that there is like blue ethery energy in there. So you're like, is that like a second Earth icon that's kind of been asleep? I don't know. By destroying it, does it sort of stop this creature that is kind of being it's draining? It's just a sap on the energy, which could set up a motive for taking them down. But Yoshi's kind of confirmed that some icons can lay dormant for hundreds of years. So that sets up, that could be the 2 for that, and then we've got the Northern Territory crystal, Leviathan and Shiva. Leviathan! The Warwick sisters, if indeed I kind of make a concession, we may have got that Levi dominant off. It's possible it could be old hobo Dion. But him standing next to Barnabas is curious. I'm just going to have spoiling my whole jungle vid. And then that kind of left us to wonder about crystalline dominion. Is that Rama's? Is there another one?
If there are 2 per crystal, what? Stuff like the Hody Sambrique, they're going to have as their second if they have a second one.
If they have a second one,
will have to have a second dominant, but...
Well, the fact that on Sambrique's poster, they've got 2 dragons on there, which makes me think, is that little girl also a dragon? Dominant. Is she like a mini Tiamat? And that, it's 2 per. And the only reason that kind of fits is if it's 6 nations, 6 crystals, 2 per, that's 12. That's the 12 tribes of Israel that battled throughout the Book of Joshua, till eventually unifying a disparate world of separated nations that were lost too much in, didn't they call it worldliness? It's another word for materialism. and forgetting their true origins and their true source. And when they fell away from God, which is the setup to Felicity's story. So, curious. Yoshi P's kind of given us tee-ups to that. But yeah, let's... I was going to show the article on there, but it's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, I'll have to...
So yeah, that's pretty much as I picked out that kind of excited me. Diving in with where this interview I'm reading on IGN starts from, the whamming. The whamming. Are the whamming going to be strong? I was hyping so hard because it seems in this game we actually have some badass ladies.
Yeah.
Badass ladies. But they need to come out and they need to stick the man in the hot seat. And this is very much what I felt was the tone of this interview. Sticking the man in the hot seat and making him answer, are you getting all of the correct representations?
Do it right.
In a line. Are you doing it? So yeah, they asked about women, and I think this was this was Koji Fox. Koji Fox being pretty much one of the best translators.
Right, okay.
We've always had kind of choppy translations, late ones.
Yeah.
Koji Fox, he's like the epic bridge between the two. He gets it out, and also he has a lot of input.
Yeah.
Like, he's really actively involved with the sort of stories. So he does translate things in slightly different ways.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so often the case that Japan get one thing that mean a whole different thing, and then Koji sort of switches it to give us a whole different meaning. Just like the little thing about the fall of our forebearers. That's what Koji gave us.
Yeah.
Whereas Japan they battled with the gods, which are very different.
Yeah.
Story drops.
Just the guy that's in the band with.
Koji's in the Primals, isn't he?
That's it. Yeah. I thought I recognised his name. I was just trying to put a name to a face. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is his answer. So while 16 does feature a prominent female protagonist, I would hazard the similarities end there. I think the interviewer asking, is she going to be a Celeste and an Aerith? Which I hate, like cross comparing to other characters.
Yeah.
And Koji kind of has to throw that out the gate. Celeste and Aerith are unique in that so much of their games' narratives revolve around their own respective stories. Final Fantasy 16 story, however, has, since the early concept phase, always been about Clive. She was just a pin-up girl. She was there to prop up Clive. Just there to prop up Clive. As the case with all Final Fantasies, Clive's story is about encounters, it's about companions, it's about relationships, and how through those relationships Clive grows. No Final Fantasy character worth his or her salt ever saved the world on their own. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, which is exactly why you got it off with Noctis, to even imply that, the bros needed to be in another DLC, that there's need to be focus on Noctis, from Noctis's POV.
Yeah.
No game ever worth its salt. I mean, that's, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, because even in 15, it was very clear the role that Ignis and Gladio and Ponto played, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just when they started teetering on, the reason why we can't give you extra story stuff and we can't go down the side bro channels is it needs to be from Noctis's POV and not because we've kind of fucked our development and we want to release this as a roadmap that we can charge you for at every corner. Thank you. It's always been the case with Final Fantasy. It's about a group. And it's more than just the main character's story as well. It's their backstory. Luckily, Clive won't have to try, as he too is not alone. I think they kind of go a little bit further on another interview to say, we're going to see stuff of Jill's backstory. She's going to have her own story, her own thing.
I think I sort of got the impression when you first obviously seen through the trailer, obviously you see people travelling around with Clive, but because you've only seen Clive as a combat character in the game, people I think maybe assumed that it was just going to be about him. I mean, obviously, a lot of the first thing that people ask is, "Are we going to be able to play more with Clive than just Clive?" And it's not going to be the case with combat. Yeah. Which they kind of even discuss a little bit of that. The reason why we had to kind of put this out to DMC director. Square at this point are straight up admitting we don't know how to do action combat. We don't know. We haven't actually really got a refined system. We haven't got anything kind of unique.
We don't really yet know what the fuck we are doing in terms of action combat. So we need to get someone in who does, which is okay. Is okay. I personally think that it's where Square Enix, they waved the white flag on their combat systems. They kind of got to 13, which between that and kind of what you were doing with 12 and Tetsu, like you could have refined out the combat system I've always envisioned, which is a blend between action and turn-based. And 7 Remake kind of touches that nicely. Type 0, quick switching and being able to drop into tactical elements. I don't know, I just feel like Square Enix could have got there so much quicker and could have their own kind of system refined by now, but yeah. At least they admit it, right?
Yeah.
At least they admit it. But yeah, we kind of also see, and we'll speak about in the jungle video, man, we sweated so hard in that video.
I thought I was going to pass out. I honestly did.
It was sweaty. Does Clive have a merry group of friends, or is it just Clive's solo story? Well, my impression is that the merry, not that you're going to be merry, it's going to be the dominance, right? It's going to be picking them up. I don't know whether any of them ideologically align with Clive. I get more of a sense at this point he takes it by force.
I've just had visions of parts in the game of the dominance having fights in Clive's head between what he should do and what he shouldn't.
Yeah.
The little voice.
But yeah, one really cool thing that we do see with Jill is it does seem like we're going to go on her little side mission. We see her fighting at the steps of the Iron Kingdom, the people who enslaved her. I bow to no one. So she's going to do her thing.
Yeah.
I am more than happy with how chicks are showing up in this. Would I like more? Absolutely yes. Is there anyone in this chat who has any adversity to there being awesome, badass chicks in Final Fantasy games? One of my favourite Final Fantasies is 10-2. 10-2! It's always crazy to me how even around 15, when the bros came out, how many people going, Final Fantasy, misogynistic as always, as ever. It's like, bros, are you serious? We just came out of the 13 trilogy. Protagonist of the first one, Lightning. Protagonist of the second one, Sarah. Third one, purely chick. Even in 12, Ash was the main one. Yuna's basically, well, she's the main chick. We play as Tidus. But Yuna is the thing that the story entirely revolves around. Aerith, the most predominant character in it. Cloud is just, he's literally a hollowed out nothing burger half the game.
Yeah. Well, even
between Tifa and Aerith, they are the centre of the story. And then when you start going back even further into Rydia and Terra and Celeste, there has been no point in Final Fantasy where chicks haven't led the games hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah, even going back to 10, I've sort of... But even though Tidus was the sort of main character in that at the start, like, he didn't outshine anyone in it.
Yeah,
like,
that's it. It's
they wrote it in a way that it was... Every character had their part in it, and even characters like Kamari actually had a part. But I thought all the women in that were very strong. And
and that's always been the case. Like, it's never really just seemed that the women are there to prop up the male MC. So why this keeps getting propagated about, that this is a crime that Final Fantasy does often, it did it. Like once, in 15, right? There's no doubt about it. And that's why I hate that game for. It's what I hate most. Luna Freya was there for no other reason than to prop up Noctis.
And she got hardly any screens.
And no one liked that. There was no fan whatsoever. It was like, I'm happy with what they did with Luna. I'm happy. No. And the 15 DLC could have saved that. It really could have. But it's always funny, like a game does something once and people come out and they talk about it like it's systemic and so prevalent. When it's not.
Do you think this is a problem? Like, I say problem, the articles that get written are often by Western companies. Do you think this is something that happens in Japan? Like, do you think when Square release stuff like this, they get companies coming out also and you need to make more powerful women in it?
Well,
or do you think it's cultural? It's a culture that makes it Do you think Western culture's more? They always look for this sort of stuff to hook in to their articles.
I do. I feel like here in the West, we have more privilege and therefore more time on our hands, and therefore, and it's kind of both a pro and a con. We start getting into social dialogues, like hyper focusing on it, way sooner than the rest of the world starts getting into it. So you've got some Asian and South Korean or Japanese developers, and suddenly you get a bunch of Western people come over and they're like, "This is the hot topic we're talking about here in the West. What are you doing about it?" And I can imagine it's just like, whoa, like, Jesus, man, it
happens too often as well.
We're just making the kind of games that we like. But anyway, we'll discuss that whole ballpark on the next part. What do you think the POC question that IGN had asked about? Yeah, that's what I'm going to cover secondary. I feel like that kind of needs its whole section, and as a white guy, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. Nah, fuck that. It's just an area that when you immediately talk about it, it's like, okay, I know where my strengths and weaknesses are on this point. I know what my personal lens is, and
I find it difficult to talk. Well, not difficult to talk about, but it's something I don't like to be too.
I'll give you guys our thoughts on that. That afterwards. All right, next question. So, can you talk about the roles of the crystals in 16? How they are both similar and different to previous games in the series? Still such lame questions, but okay. So this is Hiroshi Takai. I believe they are similar to crystals in previous installments in the way they are crystallizations of ether, the source of magic. 16 people mine the crystals and consume them as though they're deposits of resources, like oil, perhaps you could say. The way that the crystals are portrayed as a vital and familiar part of people's way of life is something that's distinctive about their depiction. Final Fantasy 16. The nation of Valistia conduct large-scale wars over these crystals, something deeply connected to the story. I'd be excited to discover more. Yeah, I mean, I think we get that, and I think it's actually kind of cool that they're placing so much emphasis on crystals being a resource. Having a rant about that NFT thing. We're in the middle of an energy crisis. Resources that we have to us and how much we're wasting them, massively relevant right now. Very relevant. I can't help but feel that wars that are going on, some of the geopolitical situations. 16 is going to be coming at a very...
I think that's, some of the things that I'm excited for 16 is that sort of thing. Like the more the play on the energy stuff in it and warring nations, and I've made a comparison a few times about it, but the way I love Godzilla and stuff like that, and just the way they sort of, the icons almost give that sort of kaiju sort of power. Like mass destruction sort of.
And that looming threat also being tied to a real struggle on resources. Big, because I don't know. I didn't ever think I'd be a doomer, but I'm getting there, man. There's a reason why I want to buy my Quinton, my little farmstead, my little off-grid, self-sustained kind of acreage of land. Because I'm telling you, when you look into it, and the wars over water, it could be happening when the Middle East becomes too hot to inhabit. The concrete is melting over there. They're hitting temperatures where the actual concrete on the roads is melting. You think the Syrian refugee crisis was a thing? Wait until that whole part of the world has to start emptying out. Over wars over water. I mean, that's a little ways down the line. That's before the war over oil, which... Cool that he mentions that. That's going to come first. I mean, you could say that's already here. Everything's starting to plunge into recession. The American Fed just came out, printed another quarter of increasing inflation, hiking rates even higher, which is not going to bode well. I think it's 4 consecutive months of printing higher inflation. Got a housing crisis in the UK. We talked about the cost of living. It's getting wild, man. I don't know about you guys, what countries you are all living in, what kind of issues are sort of staring you guys in the face, or your countries, or you personally. I don't know, it's getting wild. There was a real thing with gas and electricity bills just getting hiked.
Yeah. Is this in the UK? Sorry. Or everywhere, isn't it, I suppose? But...
I mean, the UK had it massive.
Yeah.
I think France had it really bad, and that's why Paris was just awash with riots and protests. So yeah, by the time that this game comes out, it could be real relevant, even more so. And that's going to be summer, because the really exciting part is Yoshi has confirmed this is going to be no later than... He's emphasised that. Now, this is what I like about Yoshi. I actually freaking trust him. You know, when we thought that... Well, they said the trailer was going to be in October. So many of us are like, yeah, it's not coming. It's not coming. I was completely, like... out of thinking it was going to come.
Checked out on it.
And that it made me realise that is what the Square Enix of FF15 did to me. It got me into that habit of, I just became accustomed.
No expectations for it, just when it comes.
Yeah, I've become accustomed to them saying you're going to get something, and then it's not, and it pushed back, and this apology, that apology. Yoshi P is just a different breed. Sure, some things happen, things have to be delayed. But Yoshi P takes it so seriously. If something has to be even delayed a week, he will come out and he will explain it in all detail.
Yeah.
So when he says it's coming in summer, I believe him, and we're not going to get delays. And especially because 15 is 95% complete. Wow!
15?
95.
No, you said 15 is 95. Do you mean...
Oh, 16. 16 is 15% complete, and 95% of 16 players are only 15. 16 is 95% complete, and this was... That was the article. This was something I was thinking about with God of War, because I was never sure, once it's gone gold, which gold is after it's done all the brushing up, right?
Yeah,
so it just has to do performance, rendering, debugging.
Yeah.
That's usually the last 5%, right? And once that's done, it goes gold.
Yeah, and that's,
And then I was wondering, sort of, once a game goes gold, when's it ready to sort of ship a roo? Because I have never really known what the process of actually printing them onto discs. How much are even a thing? Obviously, with digital kind of overtaking people with PlayStation 5s that don't even have a disc. I mean,
a lot of sales go to digital downloads now, don't they? And I think there's obviously people are still buying physical copies, but
I mean, what about you guys? With that Final Fantasy 16, do you pretty much know that you're going to get a physical disc, or you're going to go digital? I don't even know. Well, we haven't actually seen if there's some sort of... I mean, there will be some sort of 16 collector's edition. Ooh,
I love collector's editions.
I don't know, what figurine do you guys want? It's like, you know it's going to be Clive. It's like, which Clive? Is it going to be young Clive? Is it going to be older hobo Clive? Is it going to be Clive with single claw arm? Or is it going to be poster Clive who looks like the left arm starts to...
Do they usually put the Kai art stuff in the collector's editions?
Yeah, it's usually...
See, I would like to see a sort of diorama or like a statue of Phoenix and Ifrit fighting, like the front logo.
Yeah.
That'd be wicked.
That's the thing. As much as Clive would still look cool, and he does look cool, because he's got that... I'm blanking on the name. Velvet Crow. He's got that Velvet Crow look. I love Velvet Crow! I would like something different.
Yeah, I think because
I sent for Benedicta.
You want a Benedicta one?
Give me a Benedicta in that. That. Oh no, that's misogyny. Oh, that's misogyny. Sorry, they did that with Tifa, and people went wild. No, don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, because
your eyes just hanging off the screen.
It'd be cool with the icons. If they did do icons.
Yeah, well, I think the game's so focused around the icons in this, like, it would be cool to do that.
Or if they have Ifrit and they have some sort of like Ifrit extending behind him. It'd be cool. Obviously, the cooler it is, the more the price tag cranks up. And I'm probably not going to get it because I have no more suitcase room. I'm on the road. Actually, no. We're probably going to be back to the UK after Japan. Yeah. At that point.
You might just have to get pre-ordered before because it might sell out. Just get it sent to Jade's.
Yeah. Digital for generic popcorn games for me only. Let's get physical. Yeah? We're gonna get the
super cheap games in digital sale.
Honestly, I just want the steel cases, man. Steel cases.
Steel case, don't you?
Oh, steel cases. just looking at them just makes me. I'm still case gobbling.
See, primarily as a PC gamer now, I don't have access to any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't seem to make collector's editions anymore for PC
No.
and stuff like that. So I just have to buy everything off Steam.
Yeah. But yeah, I was never really sure, like, that printing process, how long that takes. And Yoshida kind of says, since I've grown so accustomed to the development environment of online games, I was a little surprised at how quickly that we went to gold. If you consider the production of physical discs, shipping them worldwide, all of that takes several months of physical time after going gold. So even after going gold, yeah, that printing process and shipping process, that's still a few months by his standards. I don't know, I just do this thing like, it could be ready and you just run a line of discs, stick them to the case, out the door it goes. I don't know, it feels like you could do a lot of pre-prep with that, like having all the cases and just...
Yeah, I think they could.
Download them onto the discs. I don't know what will make that process take several months, but... I don't know.
I've never looked into it.
That's what Yoshi says. What Yoshi says. Only buy digitally if there's no other option. For me, it's usually how much I care about the game or how impatient I am to play this thing right now. Like, if I see a game, I'm like, yep, that sold me, I want to play that, I'm going to download it. I'm going to sit and wait for Uncle Jeff Bezos to deliver it to me.
I mean, he can do it in under a day now.
He can. Yeah, that's true. Good for you, Uncle Jeff. Right. Next question, which Kazutoya Mihiro, the creative director, took on. IGN asked... Actually, no, I don't know if IGN asked this. I think it was... What was it? I think it was... Not entirely sure, but I'm guessing it was Dengeki. I think it was Dengeki. So the mural in the trailer shows Bahamut, Titan, Garuda, Shiva, Leviathan, and Ifrit. Well, it doesn't necessarily show Ifrit. You're stretching, sir.
Yeah.
We don't know if the thing at the time. I mean, we do think it's an Ifrit Clive merge. But are those all of the icons? Can we expect some surprise summons? 16. Oh, the mural shown at the end of the trailer we recently revealed doesn't recount the story being told in 16. It was painted in an ancient age many eons ago.
Oh.
Whoa! Whoa!
Many eons.
See, I kept saying that. I said, is it prophecy or is it cosmogony? And this kind of ties with the theory we were talking about in the jungle. Because it doesn't make sense, because the translate of the book says that what's going to happen is the host will be assembled, it will bring in God incarnate, and through some sort of bumbly-wumbly between them, a second age will come. So that made that whole host thing seem like it's something that's gonna happen. Now, of course, prophecies that happen before can have an effect on the future.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're saying it's from before, Rose.
It kind of makes you think, obviously, well, when I've looked at it before, whether the icons are like banding up to fight against this being on top.
Which that's what we talk about in the jungle, was this one true deity or some god who wanted to take down the other gods? Because it says that humanity went against the gods. Humans haven't got the capacity, even if they did have more advanced technology, even if they were like the Allagans.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna be able to fight gods without some help. So did one god turn on the other gods and used humanity to power grab? Which, how are you gonna do that? Oh, you need to give humanity a power that can make them compete with gods. That power is the icons. So yeah, we got a sense that there could be some sort of historical betrayal coming from that mural, even though it was kind of talking about it like it was a prophecy. So that really fits nicely.
Yeah.
That sort of supports that. So you could consider these icons appearing in the mural the icons that have historically existed. I can't say anything more about mural at this point, and it may actually be a little tricky to answer all of those icons shown on which appear. Regardless, any more than that is still a secret. Oh no, ha ha ha. Sorry, I got it. Oh yeah, it's 2. Icons are at the core of 60 story. Unlike the summons of the other installment series, there aren't too many of them, nor are there any hidden surprise icons. So maybe question mark isn't an icon.
Maybe it's not. Or maybe
he's saying there are no hidden secret. Wait, what do you mean there are no hidden secret ones? What about Leviathan then, man? So is that kind of confirming we're not going to get Leviathan?
It could be confirming that.
You sitting there hiding up the northern ocean?
Maybe Leviathan's actually dead. Like maybe something happened with that, and that's throwing the balance out, because obviously fire. If this being is like an Ifrit and Phoenix merge, and Leviathan's obviously water and that was the way to overthrow the balance. Maybe Leviathan was the only one that could have actually sorted that out. Maybe it is dead, and maybe it will come back. I mean, it's not actually saying it's. You could look at this as Leviathan's actually secret because we've seen it on the mural.
The problem I have with them saying that this is something from the past is, if that's indeed the case, this mural is it's a cosmogony, not a prophecy. Yeah. So why then in the book of Joshua does he describe that this is something that's going to happen and that part of the host is Phoenix? That's the main detail. He lists that Phoenix is a part of the host. There is no Phoenix on that artwork. And if it is caged within that singular being, which if that is Diablos, if that is what the fire icon originally was, some other thing, and it's split, Ifrit and Phoenix got split, which we kind of theorized, why is that? Well, Ifrit typically represents humanity's progress, right? A technological advancement. It gave them fire, and that's what allowed them to stoke progress. The fact that the world has backpedaled, it makes it sound like, well, after the humans fought the gods, did they strip humanity of Ifrit to kind of disempower them? And has it got something to do with that red dot near them?
Yeah.
Did they cage it up there, and once it came back into orbit, that allowed a certain alignment where Ifrit could be born again? Because that's all very horoscopy and...
Yeah. Or maybe this Ifrit and Phoenix merged, if it is one of those, maybe was the evil, like during that sort of that ancient time, was the evil one in that? And what could be more destructive than a icon that could revive itself and use fire and just destroy everything?
It'd be too powerful.
And maybe the other icons had to go against that and be like, we need to find a way of splitting this up. And they took the bad part out, which was Ifrit. And you had Phoenix, which was more
and caged it on some Dalamud type thing, or it was the Iron Kingdom that was suppressing it the entire time, and managed to get out through marriage to who could be Klain. Clive and Joshua's dad might be called Klain. There's a Klain Rossfield in.
Yeah, I watched a video. Some guy sort of had pulled out 2 parts. It was Archduke Klain Rossfield.
Oh, it did say Archduke Klain Rossfield. Oh! Cool. Klain and Clive. Yeah, interesting they're saying there's no surprise icons. That doesn't seem to me like Barnabas's goal to unite all the dominants. If Levi is one of the divine host, how's it going to do that? If there's no surprise icon. Maybe Barnabas goes down to the bottom of the ocean and he discovers there is no Levi.
Skeleton.
Yeah. Dead as shit. Well, actually, there's kind of an interesting detail on that, which I'll cover off the fly. Maybe I'll read it exactly. But we were wondering, what happens after a dominant dies? Does the icon insta-pass? Does it insta-pass, and does it have to be born, like back to fetus stage, and has to grow? Or can it instantly transfer into an adult? And is the process instant?
Yeah.
Or can there be a delay? We did get an answer on that. And I'm going to try to skip to it, because this was the most exciting one to me. Where was it? Oh yeah, that's what the interview asked. Can we expect to see a female character on par with Celeste, Aerith, or Beatrix? Right. Yeah, these interviews are so choppy, the way they show them, but there was a little bit of extra contextualisation to that. These companions, however, are not simply static, one-dimensional plot devices there to prop up Clive. He says it, not to prop up Clive. They have their own past, their own motivations, these are explored in depth. One such character does end up being featured more prominently. Strong, yet flawed, brave, yet full of doubt. Her relationship with Clive affects him in ways that reverberate throughout his arc. I keep saying it has to be Jill. Being Shiva.
Yeah.
To cool his fire when he gets out of hand. If it is this fiery, destructive thing, that she's there to keep him in check. That's what Shiva does. She keep his ass in check. Where's the really, really cool detail? Might have to go to Audrey for this. Good old Audrey. Ai Takimochi. Where was it? So yeah, I think she kind of mistranslated it at first, but basically, no two dominants can exist for a single element. But there is no such rule as one dominant must reside within one country. For example, Willowed has two dominants live there, Garuda and Odin. And when a dominant dies, they turn to stone. Successors could be born either immediately or take hundreds of years to show up. Some points in history exist where dominants lay dormant, presumably for hundreds of years. But currently, all dominants exist. All the dominants exist right now. So my immediate question, and again, it's whether the Book of Joshua was mistranslated, whether the host has to get together to fight or bring about God incarnate, who'll bring about a second coming and will heal the world. So if there's no surprise dominants or icons, how's Leviathan going to be in that host? And then secondly, to unite all the dominants. And then, okay, secondly, what about Rama? Yeah. We literally see Rama at the mid-20s stage, Clive at mid-20s, turn to stone. So that begs the question, because that definitely makes it seem like they have to be born again. So who's Rama going to pass on to? Now, even if it happens immediately, like it says here, Rama dies at mid-20s Clive, instantly goes into a baby. We're going to by the 30s point, when all the dominants come together, we're going to be dealing with, a 5-6-year-old Rama? Do you know how weird that will look for like a little toddler, a little lightning toddler, to suddenly transform into an old wizened sage wizard?
It doesn't fit thematically for me, like to have Rama pick that sort of person. Somebody that it would have. I would feel like it would have to take ages for Rama, obviously.
We don't know if that's Rama, do we? I think we pretty much see, because he has those two katana things, right?
On the arm.
And his arm is turned into
I think what they're saying is we know that it's him on the actual deathbed that we see.
That's the thing.
Because that was obviously Clive's brother, wasn't it? The blonde guy that we see kneeling over. What sort of relationship would he have with him to be doing that?
Who else would turn to stone? That's the main point. Like, whoever was on that deathbed was clearly stony. He was stoned out of his mind. Old stony Rama. Yeah. Who else would go through a petrification phase? So, because what I initially thought is it describes Hugo as when he came into the Titan icon, he was a lowly foot soldier. So I don't know, even if we say conscription age is 16, it's like, so did, did Dalmec not have Titan for that entire period of Hugo's life? Like they didn't know where their icon was, but Hugo always had it from birth, and then just as a lowly foot soldier, he just woke up to it.
Yeah.
Because my initial thinking was, did it pass to him when he was, a young man? But this makes it sound like it has to be born, so I don't understand how that's going to work with Rama. Yeah. How he's going to be part of a host.
No, the stone person is still technically unknown, possibly a previous dominant. Maybe they keep previous dominants as stone. I mean, they could do.
That's possible, right?
That's good.
That's possible. Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? Like,
To honour them.
Maybe Rama, who is clearly directing Clive, Jill, and also a new character, who I think is this character, Byron. I think that someone was asked who was your favourite character to write, and yeah, it was Byron. Where is it?
Byron.
Yeah.
He's not the guy that's carrying
I think it is.
Jill.
I think it's the big dude.
The Hodor.
I get a vibe he's going to be Hodor. He's going to be the Hodor in this Game of Thrones reenact. Yeah, so each director was asked which character was their favourite to write. Takai says he hasn't been announced yet, but I like Byron, who appears partway through the story. He's a character with an extremely likeable personality, very cheerful, magnanimous. So I expect a lot of players will end up liking him, just as I do. So when he says magnanimous, is that another word for stupid and impartial?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Unfortunately, I can't go into much detail, but the scene where he first appears makes me really emotional. When I was initially carrying out the cutscene checks, I found myself tearing up, despite myself.
Damn.
I imagine he'll be announced in future promotional material. So maybe it's not the big Hodor dude. It is. It's just, it immediately came to my mind because our friend Carl, he has a friend called Byron.
Oh, yeah.
We call him Big Bitch Byron because he's a guy who, up until the age of about 15, he would carry a comfort blanket to school, like a blankie. He needed a blankie, and he was very much that kind of passive,
didn't say much,
shy guy.
Yeah.
And yet, when he got to like 18. He shot up to about 6'7", and now he can literally deadlift like 600 kilograms.
He won the genetics lottery by far.
He's got mad genetic lottery.
Yeah.
Out of almost seemingly nowhere, he can just lift almost power lifter levels worth of
It's crazy.
weight.
Yeah.
And most people, when they're picking like 500 kilograms of weight off the floor, which I don't know if you guys can conceptualize, like half a ton, this is insane amounts of weight. Someone will let me make a grunt, and he's just like, hold on. He's got some of those some Godbert genes for sure. So yeah, maybe that's why Byron came to my mind.
Yeah,
for that reason. But Yoshida's favourite characters. So he says there's a lot of characters in the game. All have their own life, destiny. It's very difficult to pick one. I imagine this would be the same for the others, who's in charge of the script. But I would have to say Clive, the protagonist, is uniquely special. We discussed that in the jungle a lot. Why is Clive uniquely special? I was going to throw it out to you guys. Do you think he has some crazy origins? Clive is a demigod or some other kind of thing that just is basically not even human? I've seen a few things on Reddit discuss this, what Clive's crazy origin story could be. And the thing that just pisses me off is people are like, no, he's just a dude. He's just a dude and your ideas are dumb. It's like, bros, when in a high fantasy world, that is intrinsically high fantasy already, when there's a dude in that world that can do something that's crazy to even the rest of them.
Yeah.
We're talking about someone who can do nothing, like something that no one else can do.
Clive has a big D confirmed.
Is that it? Do you just think it's the size of his balls? Is Clive looking to destroy the crystals and steal the powers of the dominants, or is he looking to found a new order in which dominants are no longer weapons, or what? With Death Knight, that's why the Book of Joshua made it sound like the prophecy was going to happen, which is get a host together, God incarnate comes, who seems like it's a Clive if it merge, and it fits with the Exodus story, that he will then be the one to decide and put sort of an end to the war between the different tribes, and that people will be given their allotted space, their allotted lands. It will be done
fairly.
Yeah, but I kind of wonder, is Clive here to stop the prophecy? Is he to put on track? Is there some bigger god that he has to fight down? which kind of makes a lot of sense when you think about 14 in the sense that the gods in 14, they sort of use ether, don't they, to kind of incense the beast tribes. To kind of get like acolyte worshippers and whatnot. I can't help but think there's some god in this that Clive either has to, and also with the insanity in the North Seas. So there's this theme of insanity, which that happens in 14. It incenses people. It turns them crazy. And it's in this warring and this fighting that these gods are sort of supplementing power. And I'm like, does Clive have to take this insanity on? This thing that, get to the root of it? Some Cthulhu-like bizzle?
I think it'll be a major story point for sure.
Yeah. I think that's what Clive would be to put into. But yeah, that sort of begs the other question that we were asking is if he is here to stop, what happened previously, if that was a previous depiction. I don't know. If Phoenix was listed as part of the host, Clive wants to mess that up. Does Clive take out Phoenix? And I know that's his little brother, but if he knows that his brother can regenerate and revive, if he knows that he was going to get taken at the point of Sambri, we've sort of discussed it. Is there some sort of flashpoint Clive? Anti-Clive, dark Clive? Because the whole implication that, we see if we're tearing up Phoenix doesn't mean that Phoenix's dominant is dead. We see Icons fighting all the time.
Yeah.
There's no reason to believe at this point Joshua is dead.
Yeah.
There's every reason to believe that this could be some other Clive who's keeping his brother safe.
So
that's why robed hooded guy shows up, and he's keeping his bro, the Phoenix, out of this war, out of the equation.
Yeah. Do you think that in that trailer when we see Joshua turn into Phoenix or start, do you think that was the first time he's done it, or do you think? I'm just wondering when dominance actually show up. But obviously, when you see it, it says when the rogue figure appeared and if it came out, that's when people started to go like they lost control. I think that was the first time that he actually has done that.
Yeah, that was a good point I actually forgot about. Because, it did say that when that robed guy or the second icon, it was all the dominants across the world were going absolutely berserk. Yeah. Which, that sings to me, Barnabas, where he comes from, the void that we see in the North Seas, he came from that.
Yeah.
And that there is some insanity that is the source of it. And at some point, Clive is going to go into it.
Yeah.
And whether that creates an anti-Clive, a dark Clive, I mean, honestly, evil twin theory, I am not beyond it. I'm not beyond it because what I wonder in the video we're going to release is, let's say robed guy is Clive. Is it Clive in his right mind, or is it what Clive would become should he let the insanity take hold, which would make the immaculate version of Ifrit? That's what Barnabas describes it, the immaculate version of the icon. So that it's the highest attainment that they can get to. Is that the power level that, when the two Ifrits are fighting, what Clive would become if he allowed his humanity to go astray?
Yeah.
Or is it Clive in the right mind knowing that he has to keep Phoenix safe? The thing that throws us back and forth on that is whoever this anti-Clive or dark Clive or robed dude is, might not be a Clive at all. Could be someone else, could be an evil twin. He does a lot of things to go at Clive. He goes after Jill, goes after his brother, his kingdom, brands him, puts him in the lowliest sort of a band of assassins who are considered scum. It seems real personal, man. And the question is that to stop Clive becoming his higher self? Or is it just the opposite? Is it to propel him faster? Because you never know. You never know. If someone's coming and serving you a massive, shit burger, whether that's there to stop you or whether it's to...
Like the fires.
Stoke the fires, through adversity, through suffering, and that actually this could be someone who's looking to create Clive. Who knows? But anyway, so Yoshida's favourite is Clive, Mihiro's favourite is Clive. He's really the character I've poured the most feeling into. So much so, I'm not sure I'll ever be able to write a better character. Wow. Let's not shit on him too hard then, guys. Just know that. No, my hero's over here. He's put everything in. So if Clive turns out to be crap, go easy. I actually love characters of the game. I really like, but I can't talk about it at this point. Right, who's Koji Foxes? Lots of cats in 16, can't say. Let's close fourth after redacted, and redacted. Wait. So coming in and let's say close fourth after redacted. So I guess Koji ends up name dropping.
Yeah.
And they have to
is he saying
cycle back.
Favourites the bard who sings Clive's exploits?
Oh, is there? No. Oh my god, I'm seeing Spoony Bard. Originally the MP was simply supposed to recite vague poems, depending on where Clive happened to be. But we thought it would be fun to have him sing the lines in true Spoony Bard fashion.
Excellent.
Wow! Wow! We've got a Spoony Bard! Edward's back! Oh my god! It's so weird considering I was just, as we're walking through the jungle talking about this,
yeah,
I kept playing the Witcher Bard.
Toss a coin to your Witcher.
Toss a coin to your Witcher.
Yeah.
When a humble bard grifts the ride along with Clive Rossfield of Rosaria, along came this song. That is so funny. I was singing that the whole way through the jungle.
Oh, that's going to be great.
And to think Clive's actually got one. Oh my lordy.
Someone follows him around with a lute.
Yeah, man, it better be a lute. Okay, so we reached out to a talented voice actor who also happened to have professional training in the bardic arts.
Who could this be?
Ian McKellen. It's Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen.
Who the hell has professional training in the bardic arts? That's a thing. We had him do 2 versions of each, a spoken one and one expertly crooned in ye old style. Assuming that we'd probably just end up using the former. However, when Mr. Soken heard the sung lines, he and his team decided to handcraft a background loop part
amazing.
For each one. Despite the extra work that meant for them, because we recorded the songs a cappella and tempo pitch was all over the place. The result, however, was so good that all the other voice language, Japanese included, decided to follow suit.
Wow.
Wow! Recrafting the lyrics to fit the melodies and hiring talented singers to nail all the parts. And all this for a random NPC that some players may never even speak with once in the game.
Oh, I'm definitely be looking for that.
Yo, that's crazy. So someone with bardic arts came in, smashed it.
Yeah.
And then they had to be like, oh god, we need to get this across all languages.
That's great.
That's so funny. I like that. Why does that excite me so much? I'm not even sure. Right, okay, what else we got? Toss a coin to your potential Ifrit. Yeah, man, I want to get whatever this professional training in bardic arts is. Where do I sign up?
You get back to the UK.
I keep saying I want to learn an instrument. Maybe lute is the one. Okay, so Bahamut and Odin, 2 iconic figures of Final Fantasy mythology, have been interpreted in different ways. How is 16's version making them distinct from past tales? I like this question. Barnabas and Dion, the parallels, Sambrique, Ash, the superpowers, the fact that Dion is an anagram of Odin, Barnabas and Bahamut, the parallels are so striking. So striking. And Takai says this doesn't just apply to Bum and Odin, but I would say one distinct aspect of 16 when compared to past.
Ooh. Great react.
Oh, I've got a jingle in my ear hole. I don't even know why I've got this headphone on.
No, I don't even.
Thank you so much, mate. I'll stick that in there. I should give it a charge. Dude, what a ledge. I will quickly read this, because this is Spoice. Past installments in the ways that human dominance manifest into themselves. Dion, who is Bahamut, Barnabas, who's Odin, each carry their own burdens in the story. I think one of the fascinating things about 16 is the monstrous forms manifested by the dominance somehow resemble the human characters when you look at them. I do like that.
Yeah.
You do. You see the characterizations, and we talk a lot about Dion in our theory vid, because we're kind of wondering, is it also the case that the icon does the picking and picks someone who represents the will picks a dominant whose will most resembles and represents the icon, who they want to manifest as? Because if that is the case, it's curious that Bahamut has picked Dion. Dion does not seem anything like his father.
No.
Who is a maniac.
Yeah.
He's an absolute maniac. And I sort of point out in the theory vid that it's quite clear he wants to be the God Emperor, but he's not. He's faking it. He's faking it. His throne is smaller, and he's definitely using Dion and the little girl. And the fact that he even holds a white flower, so pretentious. That's someone who's trying to be like, because white flowers, they usually reference purity, innocence, divinity, that you have communication from the angels and higher powers. And the fact he's always sat there holding it, it's like, dude, come on. You're compensating big time. So yeah, big King Thordan vibes. Yeah, it was curious that Dion seems actually rational. I don't think Dion wants this war, which that would just be curious why Bahamut would pick someone like that.
Well, just wondering, and this could be... well, obviously we assume that dominance, like icons pass between different dominants when they die. Do you think there could be a case that dominants could swap if they don't feel like said person, so the icon could swap the dominant if they don't feel like said person is actually doing what they want? But would Bahamut transfer from Dion if he feels like, no, this isn't...
It's hard to say, because it's hard to say if there's even such a thing as the icons separate to the dominants. Because, again, this might have been a goddess who gave the power to humans so that they could take down the other gods that she wanted out the picture, so that she could have everyone's worship and adoration and power for herself. So there may not be such a thing as, like, do you mean like an extracted higher Bahamut?
Yeah.
It might just be a power that passes.
Yeah, so they're not almost like being...
Like for example, is it going to be the case that in this game we're going to have Clive is Ifrit, and in the back of like Clive's voice, or like in his head, there's going to be a voice of like Ifrit, like, stop being a dick cheese and listen to me, puny human.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't know if you guys get a different impression. But yeah, they did update Barnabas and Dion's bios to say, Dion is light, Barnabas is darkness. Which is that usually the case, that Bahamut represents a light element on the elemental chart. But yes, it's curious that it's that way, and it seems that Barnabas is very pro-war. I mean, he literally takes all of Wallode single-handedly just to raise a superpower to get this done. And then you've got Dion on the other end, who's like, yo, Gramps, if we do this war, it's going to mess up everything, man.
Yeah.
Chill your cylinders, Grampy. Right. Bahamut is usually non-elemental. Barnabas sounds like a toy bear. Hey, Benedicta's willing to snuggle, so... Bear me up, baby. Bear behind bars. Bahamut has typically been non-elemental, but that's usually because FF doesn't have light damage. Yeah, and I think with Bahamut's characterization, I think so many times Bahamut is an arse, but especially coming out the back end of 15, it could just be, locking it in your mind that, oh yeah, Bahamut's going to be like a megalomaniac god king, tyrant. Maybe not. It's kind of hard to...
I mean, so the only representations I have of him are from 15, and obviously seeing him in 10 as a summon, and obviously seeing him now in Strangers, just standing there like, bring me reptiles. Yeah, reptile me up, laddies!
It's hard to get into your head that actually this Bahamut could actually be here as the exact opposite, to try to stop a tyrannical rule. Anyway, next juicy. We will get through this. The icons may be all powerful, but their actions are at the best of their dominance. By extensions, the nations they fight for, all characters, not just dominants, believe what they are doing is right. How do you approach fleshing out morally complex characters? Not everyone treats the dominants in the same way. Being humans, there are lots of different thoughts and beliefs. In one country, dominants may be treated with great respect, like stately guests of honour, while in another they're treated as slaves. And while there are those who fight for justice, there are those who will only act for their own personal benefit. Hugo. As well as those who are being coerced to serve against their will. Shiva, Jill. You might think that the dominants should be able to do whatever they want. There's powerful icons, but using this power comes with the drawback of petrifying the dominant's body. So kind of does it happen with each encounter? A little bit more and more.
Yeah.
And we also kind of thought, does it also happen if they push it too far? Because in certain parts of the fights you see them, they're very blue.
Yeah.
And then at times they kind of go orange transformation. And you kind of see Titan in one shot, like he has blue eyes at the start of the fight, then by the end they're kind of like grainy, yellow, and it's like, is that colour showing when they're depleting? And it kind of makes sense because over in Wallode it seems, when they hear about the second icon of fire, it's very curious that Barnabas sends Benedict to try to hunt down this new icon, hunt down Clive, of which we kind of thought, doesn't it make a lot of sense that if Barnabas has sent Benedicta to find the icon of fire, because we've been wondering, why does the Dark Ifrit, the Robed Hood guy, why does he brand them? Is it just a, I want to have my stamp on you kind of thing? Or is it to leave a breadcrumb trail? To lead people to Clive? Because, if Benedicta comes looking for Clive, and she shows up at that battle that happened between Shiva and Titan, like you see like a guy get squished, his body, his corpse is going to have a brand of Ifrit. Like, it's leaving a breadcrumb trail that anyone could follow. And it's like, is whoever this Dark Ifrit is trying to lead, which could lead to like mistaken identities. And you kind of see Benedicta chasing Clive down a lot. There's a lot of Clive Benedicta fights. Yeah. And when it looks like one happens out sort of just a barren kind of rocky terrain, she has orange eyes. But when the fight happens in Sambrique, her eyes are blue. Yeah. Now, Sambrique is described as being the place with the most abundant levels of ether. But what I'm wondering is, like, when they deplete, or if they do it, like, if they exhaust themselves or they transform into fumes, that cause a petrification. Such a cool. I just wonder if at one point we're going to have it where somebody's going to have to, like, come into a fight to save something, but they know it's their last. They know it's going to happen. They know that if they turn into an icon one more time, they're going to turn to stone. That could be so emotional. It could be so emotional.
Yeah. Or if they don't, again, it depends on how much power they use and how it sort of transfers. Maybe they change, and then after they come out of the fight, you see them suddenly start turning and that, and they were like, it's my time to go.
I didn't even think about it before, but also when we see Benedicta and Sambrique fighting Clive, and she stood in front of the goddess statue.
Yeah, she is.
Probably not. It's probably just a statue. But is a statue just a statue? Is a statue just a statue? And can it be reversed? Has there ever been a case of reverse petrification? Palom and Porum. In FF4, two little twins. They're like the walls are closing and they turn themselves to stone.
Right, okay.
To stop it.
Yeah.
And then they're dead throughout the whole story. I cried my freaking eyes out, man. I don't know if Palom and Porum got you guys. Just dug a spork right into my heart. And at the end, some sort of cure comes about to unpetrify. Could that release the god? Is the goddess actually in that freaking statue? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's possible, right? A statue could never just be a statue. This gives rise, petrifying the dominant's body. This gives rise to turmoil faced by dominants who cannot act as they wish, as well as shaping the relationships they have with their aligned countries and the people surrounding them. The character of each dominant has been created by depicting the situation they find themselves in, their personal will, their personal will and ideology, and the conflict that arises from these factors. That's cool, that's cool. I mean, it makes sense that their personal will is kind of involved in it. Yeah, I mean, whether it's their own will that's doing all of it, or whether the icons actually have a will as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out.
How psychedelic will FF7 Rebirth be Peasant? Will it be Peasant? Oh, how psychedelic will FF7 Rebirth be? Dude, it's the same thing that I'm hoping for this game. I keep focusing on this insanity aspect because I can just tell Final Fantasy needs to go deep into some psychologically twisting elements. It needs to really throw in like a complex weave of some more extreme degrees of sort of dark and moral decisions, and really blur those lines. Make me hate certain characters at times. Make me kind of almost be disgusted with some of their choices. I'm pretty sure they'll do it, but don't be trying to do that thing where you're making a protagonist that everyone freaking loves. Yeah. And at every part of the game, you're just like, oh, I love this guy. No. Make it hard to like these questions at points, characters at points. Make them and make flawed decisions, ridiculous, irrational decisions. I love that sort of stuff. And tether that to even darker elements, a question like human nature of evil. That's why I keep looking on that insanity thing, but that is why I hope for 7 Rebirth. That's why I keep saying I want it to be themed on The Nightmare Begins. We're going to Nibelheim, place where Sephiroth was born.
All right, okay. Yeah.
Because Vincent Valentine, he lives in a coffin in the mansion.
Lives in a coffin?
Lives in a coffin.
Is he a vampire?
Vincent Valentine. Peter has the spinal column. No, he's not a vampire. They play up to the vampire trope on him big time. Okay. Like, he's actually not. But Vincent says, anyone who enters this mansion, this is where your nightmare begins. I love that. And that's going to be what I hope. It gets trippy and psychedelic like that. Alright, cool. What other details have we missed? Are there any learnings from structuring and writing 14's Heavenward storyline and characters that you've brought to the building? That you've brought to building at 16's. It's so hard to read. So Koji Fox says yes and no. There's a lot of Heavensward in here. There's a lot of things you can pick out. So yes and no. First and foremost, the 14 War of Light being a silent protagonist is greatly affected how scenes could be written. As a result, most 14 cutscenes involved other people talking to you. The burden to relay important information falling almost solely on NPCs. But for 16, having Clive be an active part of every conversation changes a lot about how we're able to relay info to the players. Cutscenes are definitely more dynamic in that sense, with the addition of high-quality facial capture to a lot of scenes, allows opportunities to relay emotion, meaning via expression rather than acting dialogue. We got that massively from just Dion's face when he's talking to his... It's like, we'll breed more citizens. And you see like Dion with this like complex face of just like, it's kind of disgust and it's pain, but then it's also kind of, I have no choice here. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to go into... Like, just some faces that just paint 1,000 words.
Yeah.
I love that. So yeah, that's cool. Differences in genre also affect our approach. With an MMO such as 14, it's also about creating a story that you can extend over 2 years of an expansion cycle. The resulting narrative needs to be a little more compact and standalone, streamlined for this. Heavily action focused, narrative tempo becomes doubly important. While political intrigue can be exciting, it tends to be complex and require a lot of explanation, which can slow things down. This is true. The political scenarios, tough, which is why you need to make every NPC count. You need to make every NPC that we encounter in these towns They also kind of talk about that. Will we be going to every single town? Every single nation? They kind of said it's not going to be as linear as that. Like, we pop to this nation. Now we pop to this. It's going to be a journey.
Yeah.
It's going to be moving through and lots of little different towns.
Yeah, because it's not actually open world, is it? It's more of a linear experience the game, isn't it, from what they've said? So
yeah,
it's not going to be.
But what I get from that is it's not going to be linear. Like, this is the Walload section.
Yeah.
And now this is the Sambrique section.
You'll visit different places depending, how the
yeah, and because the time skips happen.
Yeah.
And they've said that we're going to see things later down the line.
That'd be
they're
cool.
going to change the town. They're going to show that, oh yeah, this culture, this town that you visited before, things have changed.
Yeah.
It's not just stayed the same in 10 years, which I love that. I love that because, there's linear. I like doing it linear, but if you do it in that very here, then here, then here, then here, it's...
Yeah.
There's a way to do linear while also making the world feel like it's something you're dynamically going back and forth between and moving.
And you're seeing its growth and change and the way it ages through time. And
and that breaks up the linearity, to me, in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the world isn't just a linear, static thing. That means so much more to me than, here's a massive fucking open world terrain with, if you walk 5 minutes in that direction, you might come across a mob, but don't bet too much on it.
Yeah.
All right, here you go. We've just fucking dropped you in an ocean of, like, landscapes. This is so much cooler. So much cooler. Love explanation, can slow things down. Also, give us data logs for that. I'm always happy. I don't know if you guys... Are you data log skippers, guys? Are you data log skippers? Or will you be slurping up every morsel of detail you can? It's going to be like Dark Souls 3. What? Do you think? Why? That's crazy. What are you saying? As we're creating something that is interactive...
Wide linear. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Leaning too much on intrigue and complexity sometimes can cause you to lose sight of the bigger picture, and the game can suffer because of it. As we're creating something that's interactive, we wanted there to be a good balance. Yoshida-san's core design concept for 16 has always been roller coaster. So a mixture of slow, building a sense, followed by thrilling free falls is a good way to describe how we've tried to deliver narratives. Yeah, they've come back to that a lot, like the fact that that's Koji saying that, and Yoshida said that, and we had a few other where they're just like, when it hits you, it's going to hit. It's going to like, bam, bam. They keep saying it, so it's got to be the case, right? I love that, man. Slap me with your law, dick. What else have we missed? I've been jump up and down on this thing. Crazy. Can you walk us through the earliest stage of concept in the world? Do you start with the iconic elements you want to include, such as crystals and summons, then explore unique takes on those with dominance that leads to organically warring nation states? Basically, how does this thing build up? Mihiro says, from the very start of the project, we decided that we're focused on icons. Summons are an important element, so I thought we're going to show the icons and get them properly woven into the story instead of being merely spells or skills. That was what led me to start thinking about the question, say there was a world where icons actually existed. What kind of world would it be? It would have to be a world where it would be natural to see a giant summon with your own eyes, and it would have a corresponding history. The next steps are mostly about how I personally approach the creation. I started creating a world map. From there, I built the environment in the world, established the flow of the winds and the rivers, the ocean currents, the placement of the cities. That's interesting. Establish a flow of the winds and rivers, the ocean currents. Okay. Because they do talk a lot about, we have had details about the navies, which city has navies and who owns what parts of the oceans. Where have you been reading all of this? So PlayStation Blog, IGN and Kotaku. It's a mix of a few. With this as my base, I added the iconic elements from the Final Fantasy series, including the crystals and other elements to 16 that arose from its overall structure, writing the history of the world as I went. Once all of this was complete, we finally arrived at the starting line for the story. Wow, okay. So they really build up the geography first.
Laid down the bedrock first for it, I guess.
After that, I created a narrative that would always keep Clive at its nexus. I took care to assure that he really feels like protagonist, not just one character among multiple others. Right, roller coasters, geography, into story, cool. And a question for Takai. Before we go into this, what are these guys saying?
Still haven't read out
how's this?
Great React's tip.
Oh my lord.
Yeah,
you should have given me a jab, man.
That's why I had it on there and you moved it down.
All right. Great React. Thank you, bro. How's this all sounded to you guys? How's the feels? 16 sort of marinating into your bones. Are you excited? Is this a story? Is it taking on the themes and the tones that you were hoping for the next installment? For me personally, it's hitting every point. It's hitting the mark so well. Honestly, I don't think they could have done a better setup for 16. This is kind of perfect to me. I kept saying when people were asking what do you want for the next Final Fantasy, I was like, M-rated, mature, something psychological in elements. I love Type 0, so you know that kind of political warring landscape. But I've always wanted something that focuses so that like you've never done the summons properly. You've never taken them to that nth degree. This is just hitting all those marks for me. I don't know about you guys, but
I'm really looking forward to it.
I love it
for sure. Like after, as I've said many times, 15 was the first one I played, and playing 10, which I loved. And yeah, I'm really excited for 16 now.
Yeah,
to see. And I think it's going to be a game that will hopefully invite new fans in as well, which because of the way it's been portrayed, and that it's sort of that era at the moment where like Game of Thrones has helped with that, and The Witcher and things like that. People are really into that sort of stuff.
They really are. They really are. Honestly, I don't think that they need to push so hard for this to be appealing to the Western markets.
Yeah.
You just got to market it. Hold some sweet-ass events. If you can get like another FF15 uncovered. And you know what, it doesn't matter. Just let Yoshi P do his thing.
Yeah.
Just let Yoshi P do his thing, man. Give the man a budget, let him do his thing.
Yeah, he doesn't need to prove himself because he's... Look what he's done with 14, so... Like,
well, that's the thing with 14. 14 was kind of the first real time that Square Enix were finally starting to get involved in Western communities. Really starting to host events, bring them together. You know, they're really the ones who have done the best job at understanding what the rest of Square Enix seems to just get baffled and confused by. It just seems to do like really vapid, hollow things.
Yeah.
I mean, as vapid and hollow is, oh, they've got a Power Rangers movie coming out. Here's some Power Ranger suits for the bros. You want this? Yes. What do you want? Thank you, Greg. So here's the Friday tenor question of the week. After your trips are done, have you considered ever working with other FF YouTubers, or at least would be open to being invited to join? I actually got a really cool message from Schrodinger's today saying if I wanted to hop on with Night Sky and him, have a chat about 16. That was very nice.
That'd be cool.
Which I'm going to take up. Chat. I've only done podcasts with people, other content creators. We always chat in the background, but in terms of actually creating things, I don't want to do that, man. I don't want to do that. It's fun. I don't know. For me personally, I always am so used, even with having you here, I still fall into the habit of tunneling into my own just droving drivel. How many times have I said, oh yeah, I need to keep this video down to 10 minutes?
Oh, all the time.
50 minutes later, because I just get lost in headcanons, and then I spot on that thing, but then that point. Oh, and then there's that point. And it's so systemic in me that how I do that with other people.
It was like that NFT video we did the other day. Like when we just seen the article for it, and I got my phone out, because we're trying to get into this flow a bit more.
What's a quick reaction?
Yeah, we're trying to get into this flow a bit more that we catch like reactions there and then. And I was like, and it got to the 10-minute mark, and I was like, okay, this is a pretty good amount. And then we got to like, how long did it go for?
Half an hour.
Half an hour. I was like, I looked at the phone, and I was like, okay, it's still a good length. But
I can't help it.
But it's good. It's good that you can.
I am. I'm a monologuing villain.
Yeah.
Big time.
But people love it, so it's...
Legit. If somebody was to unfurl my evil ploy, I would explain it to the protagonist. If the walls came up, oh yeah, I'd explain to them in intricate details. Oh yeah, and you remember when that happened? I was behind that. And you didn't even put ever that and that, did you? But I'm the one who's it was me. I'm terrible. I really am terrible.
Oh, great wreck again.
Oh, great react. That was what it was. Let's do it, man. Onto one of my streams someday. Most because I'm close to FF16 and trying to get new peeps. Hell yeah, man. Don't let it be thinly veiled. Jump me in. Yeah. I'm exaggerating a bit, you know, whenever I have done podcasts, I do just kind of throw my thing in and it's hard for me to do, but I don't just sit and monitor.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched your Roman podcast with Night Sky Prince, actually. Was it weird? Did you find it weird doing it, or was it?
Oh, it's very strange because, you know, what I find mostly when people talk about theory and story stuff is they kind of take the known tenets and discuss them. I'm like, well, they're the known tenets. I don't really care about. I've dissected that already. Like, let's do it. Go off the deep end. Like, let's move straight into speculation. And I was so bad at this back in the day. I would go so far down the speculation. I would start talking about things because it would just come out of my dialogue like that they were confirmed things.
Yeah.
Without caveating. And I tried to do it more now. I'm like, this is just speculation. Speculation. But there used to be a meme of me where it'd be like, what was it? I've had like 3 YouTubers approach me and do it. I've had fans do it. It's like, I'm trying to think of a good example. It would just be like, but something confirmed. That was me.
You're just too passionate, mate. Well, not too. There's no such thing as too passionate.
There is.
Is there?
All right. What do you want? A few more points on this article. What do you want to achieve in this story that hadn't been done in FF before? I would say that in the beginning, the Final Fantasy set to create a pure fantasy world that tells rich stories and happens to the worlds the series had gradually built out from there. Youthful characters. Wait, what? Okay, no, I'll skip that. That sounded weird in my head. We like a story about youthful characters. Uncle Alty's in town. I keep mentioning Uncle Alty. Do you even know who he is?
No.
He's a purple octopus who...
Purple octopus?
Yeah. He likes pretty girls, and some of them girls are pretty damn young.
I've just got this image.
Uncle Alty's a little bit of a
reason I just have this sort of image of Kraken from Strangers being a bit like, sort of...
Yeah, imagine that, purpley. It's like, pretty fresh girls. Let me get my tenties on you. That's Ultros. And he's a dimensional hopper. Like
Ultros is a nonce.
Like Gilgamesh.
Oh.
So yes, the series gradually built out from that starting point, sometimes trying out elements closer to sci-fi and delving more deeply into coming-of-age stories of its youthful characters. As we come to 16, just as our players seem to have grown up. They've just grown up. They're recognising us FF fans. We're getting old. How many of you are beginning to feel like Bilbo's butter scraped over too much bread? I'm getting there, slowly.
Did you watch the 15 movie, Ultros is in that? I did actually. What was he in that?
It wasn't really Ultros, to be honest. There was like a big squiddy dude with a, you know, the flip-flop of light? The warp flip-flop.
I can't remember now.
Have I not shown you it? The chef video. You know Noctis throws his sword and warps to it?
Yeah.
There's a chef.
Oh.
There's a chef who flings his flip-flop and then teleports up to it.
Is that the Marlborough one?
Yeah, but the little Marlborough running away from Molluscan Octopus.
Yeah,
it's not really Ultros. Right, it's not. It's not really him. But
bit flop.
It kind of was him. Just as we have seemed to have grown up, the years have taken the toll on us developers too. The years have taken the toll. The world hasn't always been kind, and we've learned that you can't expect everything to turn out well for you.
No.
I like that.
Yeah.
And things don't always turn out well in the world of Felicity either. Many different senses of the word. Because, yeah, it's curious. I always said, like, Final Fantasy's been about hope versus nihilism. That the hope goes from a very naive, juvenile sense of hope. Versus when you get a bit older, and it sort of changes in it. A lot more different elements, and even kind of acceptance that these phases do happen, they do come, you go through it enough times, and yeah, it does. It sort of matures out from the old sense of how Final Fantasy used to portray it. I always say it was kind of the turning point between Zack and Cloud, the handing of the Buster Sword. Zack, the iconic hero, we're going to inspire you with a guy who's just heroic down to the core, and then that was old FF, and then Cloud came in to show no, like being flawed, having sort of difficult, but even that was kind of not one-dimensional, but there's a dimension deeper to that.
Yeah.
And I feel like media and games have evolved even further. It's kind of cool that they're pointing that out. Inhabitants all carry their own burdens. That was the kind of world we wanted to show, and so the world of Final Fantasy 16 may not be particularly kind or gentle. Still, I think they've managed to portray how its people live without abandoning hope, how they struggle, and how they stand firm, and how they keep on living. So I really want as many people as possible to experience the world of Felicia, and of course, it's not all doom and gloom, because we've got a bard, a spoony bard, to cure our depression. Nice. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all of it. So yeah, a few elements in there that it doesn't fully answer the questions that we were having: cosmogony, prophecy, how the dominants transfer, how many crystals, how many per nation.
Yeah.
It's just kind of teetering on.
I suppose I can't answer too much.
It's just kind of cool to confirm that the questions we've been asking and we're rambling about, they are important questions. Yeah. And that they are questions that they're, that we are supposed to be thinking of. Yeah. So it's kind of nice just to have.
I'm not completely going off the deep end.
You're never sure, are you, man?
No.
You're never sure. Yeah, I really liked that interview. That was cool.
How's the new crib, guys? Better than the last one on that? Oh, much better. All games much better. The fact we can wake up in the morning and just look out into the sea. We'll have to try to rig up the other camera or something that we can. Maybe when we do one of the go lives of the GoPro, we can start here or something and show them around a bit. But
yeah, we were going to set the GoPro up to show you guys off the balcony.
Yeah.
Or we was going to try to set up just to chill there.
Yeah.
Maybe get some bottles of soju. And have a little.
Alcohol is very expensive, isn't it?
Oh man, alcohol is well expensive out here. Yeah, we were going to just have a nice cold beer yesterday.
Maybe there aren't very many alcoholics in Asia. Maybe that's why they do it.
It's probably like cigarettes, right? They kind of pump the price to discourage. Can
you guys get the aircon coming through now then, or is it? Is that the aircon I think they were talking about? I can turn the fan off for a bit, or turn the fan speed down, I guess.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Leave it for now.
Okay.
Leave it for now. Well, I'm going to have a quick peek, and then we're just going to cover what the other little juicy deed. And then I don't even know if we're going to get to play any strangers.
I don't know. Yeah, I've set it all up, but I guess yeah. Yes, we're in. It is hot in Malaysia, Juan. It's kind of, we've got the aircon running for most of the time here, and then you step outside and it blasts us with the heat. But yeah, we're in Malacca at the moment, Novus. So we obviously moved down from Kuala Lumpur. We were there for a month, and now we're here for about. We thought we booked it for 7 days, and we actually booked it for 9. So we're going to be leaving here on the 11th of November down to Johor, which is the town that's just outside of Singapore. Some of the places we actually looked at, you can literally see Singapore because it's literally just a river that separates it. So Singapore's pretty expensive though, so we're probably not going to have to do too much on that. We might see it if we go obviously for fly from there to Vietnam, but
yeah. No, I just had a random thought about it in the bathroom. I was like, prophecy. So that artwork was a prophecy, a cosmogony. Sorry. Yeah. It was written in an age past. Which just because it's written in an age past doesn't mean it's still not foretelling.
It could happen again.
Yeah, happen again.
It could be a cycle of stuff. So you don't know how many times it's happened before.
Yeah, and I don't know if when Ifrix and Phoenix are together, they are God incarnate, because what is God? Creation of man. Well, if between Ifrit and Phoenix, it's life, and also fires of emotion and our basic nature. Between those two, it could have been what sort of created man, or what was considered as God, and maybe that host was what ripped them apart.
Yeah,
maybe the host got together to rip them apart, and I don't know. Maybe that's why Barmer's been trying to get the host together, and why he sends Benedicta on such a chase to get. When he hears about the Icon of Fire, another one coming, he sends Benedicta straight out. So what is it? What is that for? Is it to get them merged again? They ripped them apart once, they can put them back together? I don't know. That randomly came to my head.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave that there. Yeah. We should have just done this as a stream unto itself.
We should have done.
Probably have to end the stream and start again. But yeah, there we go. Those are some of the tenets of the interview, the law, the juice, and except for the one spicy thing that we have clearly left out, and let's get some traction, but we'll cover that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll cover that on the next Viddy Diddy stream. Yeah. Yeah, guys, I want your guys' POVs on this. We'll just do it now. Have fun with delving deep into Abrahamic 16 potential law. It is so succulent. It's very succulent. I love anything that ties myths and law.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I find it hard to keep up with sometimes, It's like
he does.
It's I find it
especially because I was saying I wanted to create a roadmap of all the myths that appear in every Final Fantasy. To create a massive. I have a vision of creating a giant chart of them.
Yeah.
And then you have like 13. You have like 7, 8 different philosophies that are in it. And, once I've got a list there, people can look at it and they'll be like, no, I think that Final Fantasy has a little weave of that. Well, there was this theory I heard of. They're saying that I could start, and like everyone in the community who also is interested in that kind of stuff, will sort of add and build towards.
I feel like Charlie Day.
Yeah.
Tiny.
I got boxes of Pepe. So yeah, let me find this.
Did you get a haircut, Ginge? I did. We both did yesterday. That was an interesting.
Yeah, we had a haircut at like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys, I've messed it up. Now I looked like Johnny Bravo. So I had a Syrian hairdresser who had only been in the country 25 days, and he seemed like he actually sort of really cared.
He was great. Like, watching him. I was sitting because mine got finished before Pez's was finished. And I was watching him, and he was like it was intricate. He was like really taking time with it.
He was trying to shape it.
Yeah.
So this is me with the guy. Look at the shape that he did my hair in. The second I got back, I mean, look at that. I do look like I'm the kind of guy. If you need a dodgy second-hand car to be sold, yeah. Like I'm gonna set up a coffee and backgammon store on some street corner and unsolicitedly harass women
as they
walk
skateboard
past. It does. It's a Johnny Bravo haircut. It was like a cone.
No, he was cool.
Sort of pyramid head.
He was cool. Yeah, and I got a Malaysian guy. I think he may have owned the barbers itself. and he didn't seem to give. I could see your guy was putting loads of attention, and this guy he was talking to the guy.
He gave me a head massage, everything.
He literally did the sides of mine, and I was like, I had to ask him to do more. I was like, he was
That's
just
the
going
thing,
to leave
man. If you want a good haircut, see, India, you'll have the best experience in the hairdressers.
Yeah.
Bali, you'll actually get cleanly done. But honestly, Middle Eastern and Turkish hairdressers.
Yeah. We'll have to.
They are the ones, except for when they try to give you that professional look. Which on my face, I didn't know who I was. I looked in the mirror and I looked like a serious human being, and I was like, oh, that's not me.
Ginger's hair is lit though. Do you like? I'm still not sure about it. I think it's right. I did have to ask him to do a bit more on it, but.
Okay, here we go. We're going to cover the other part of the interview that I peeked it this morning. I haven't even fully read the answer. But the second I saw it, I caught myself eye roll, and then I questioned why I eye rolled. And then I spiraled into a whole load of questions. Right? The fact is this something that, because I am a beneficiary of it, in the sense that throughout all of Final Fantasy, most of the characters have been white. They've been white.
Yeah.
I've grown up in a series since a kid with characters that, while I would like to say that skin colour isn't a thing that makes me either relate or not relate to a character, I simply can't know. Because I simply can't know what it would have been like if I grew up and all of my heroes, all of my favourite characters, that all of them was a person of colour. And that if they were a different race to me, would that have made it feel unrelatable? Would I have felt ostracised or not represented? Would it have been that perpetual question of, why can't I just have a white person in the game? Why can't I just have a white person in the game? Why has it always got to be this one singular demographic? And this has come up now in 16 because Yoshi got asked it.
Yes.
And the thing with me is I like to think I don't give an absolute damn what the person's skin colour is. I don't give a damn.
No.
And I really like to think that is the case. When it came up recently, before we get into this, I did the video. I was like, who won the remake? FF7 remake. Barrett. Barrett won the remake for me. The character I got the most emotional response to. Loved everything about him. And just even quickly on that point, it's like, okay, so Barrett came in, and I don't know about you guys, I thought they did a fantastic job. But then to see even the internet wilding out on him, like, Barrett is the most racist stereotype, it's an insult. And it's like, okay, I do get that Barrett is an extrapolation of a Mr. T kind of character. But these things, even because I always used to say, oh, no, this is Japan, but they're Asian. So the fact, we haven't had a single Asian Final Fantasy character. Have we? Not a main character.
No, and if they are, like I was saying to you this morning, like the one that stands out for me, like is Street Fighter, with Ryu in that. Like, he's supposed to be a Japanese character, but I think he is Japanese, but he doesn't have the physicality of an Asian person.
He's white as
white, right? And the Asian character they have in Street Fighter, with Fei Long, is a literal rip-off of Bruce Lee, like they did in Tekken as well with Law. So it's like they even take their own stereotypes and play
up to them. And some other people brought up Dragon Ball, that there's a character, the only person of colour in that, and he literally scats in this choppy, almost unintelligible jive kind of dialogue. Yeah. I don't know who that character is, Killer or someone to do with Killer.
I mean, in the original Dragon Ball Saga stuff, there was a lot of, you watch some of that and there's a lot of,
and it's just like, whoa,
close to the mark sort of stuff.
Very close to the mark. So there is an element of this where it is kind of an important dialogue, because from where it has been to get into somewhere better with it, I get that. But the fact is, we had Final Fantasy X that was set in Asia. It was a game where they're like, we want it to be based around our culture, and they're in an Asian character to be found in 10. I mean, the closest is what, Donna? And she's Yuffie as well, actually. Yeah, Yuffie. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we do have an Asian character. But Donna's more kind of like Indian or Middle Eastern, I think. But anyway, the point remains is that not much representation. And it's kind of always been the way for Final Fantasy. Now, we could argue that, oh, it's because, you know, Final Fantasy has always been playing off of British folklore, you know, medieval, castles, dungeons, dragons, etc.
Even more so now with 16.
So it seems like something out the gate that Final Fantasy was kind of immediately focusing in on. But yeah, this has just been a recurring discussion. But we'll get into it, because Yoshi P got asked, in regards to diversity in the game in 16, can we expect to see black characters in Final Fantasy 16 or people of colour, non-white characters in general? To clarify a bit more, there's been a discussion around the trailers to date featuring mostly white characters. I wanted to get clarity on whether we can expect the final game to be more diverse. When I read that this morning, I felt immediately what Yoshi P would feel, which is immediately pinned up against the wall.
Yeah.
Your back's up against the wall on that one. I mean, it's a fair question, but it's kind of like, okay, so we decided this is the kind of game we wanted to make, but now we need to clarify that and to make sure that we're not racist, basically. You aren't...
You're not good. There's those sort of questions you're not going to...
Keeping up with representation.
Yeah.
And are we doing something naughty, basically? It's just an immediately kind of charged question. Maybe it doesn't need to be that. See, maybe it doesn't need to be that way. I think the culture right now is very hot on that kind of thing, especially with Rings of Power coming out, you know, which was...
Snake's just moved.
No, it's an uncomfortable question, but uncomfortable questions need to be asked. It's not a case don't ask uncomfortable questions. No, but it's just curious that it's been going around so much. Also with The Little Mermaid now being played by a black actress. And now, for me at least, I was kind of hoping, maybe it's just my POV, that we were kind of not seeing skin colour as such thing, but that is naive. That is naive to see it. Obviously, that's just my hope. No, I could just really relate when I heard how many little girls were kind of seeing Ariel. You're like, oh, she actually looks like me.
Yeah.
And then it was like a big thing for a little child, or something that's a bit more. But to see like grown-ass adults going absolute hambo-jambo on it, I know, it just feels a little bit kind of... I don't know, there's just such a mix of where it's important, but then it's also immature, sort of thing where it's like really socially important to discuss these things, but also at the same time it's just thrown into places and areas at every turn that is just...
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? Virtual signalling, kind of. It's just done in a really virtual signalling way. So it's really hard, because it's like two sides to this polarity. But anyway, Yoshida immediately... This is a difficult question, but not one that was unexpected, seeing as diversity in entertainment media has become such a much discussed topic of late. The answer I have, however, may end up being disappointing to some, depending on individual expectations. Our design concept from its early stages of development has always heavily featured medieval Europe, incorporating historical, cultural, political and anthropological standards that were prevalent at the time. So now that's curious, because it would seem to me at least that Dalmec...
Yeah, that
ain't in Europe. That ain't in Europe.
That's one thing that my head went to straight away, is that it's more of an Arabic, Middle Eastern looking area. Like, even the architecture.
Could the Dalmecs, could Hugo have seen Middle Eastern? It doesn't seem geographically Europe in any kind of way. So, anyway, we'll just continue. But yeah, when deciding on the setting that was best suited to the story, we wanted to tell the story of a land beset by blight. We felt that rather than create something on a global scale, it was necessary to limit the scope to a single landmass, one geographically and culturally isolated from the rest of the world in an age without airplanes, televisions, or telephones. Whoa! So, I mean, straight up, that is saying that Valisthea is just a landmass. It's a continent. It's not actually...
That's one thing.
It's not actually the entire world.
That's one thing my mind has gone to with it, is we're only seeing a small continent of the world. Is there opportunities to, I don't know, if they'd actually open up any more of it and expand on it, or...
Curious, right?
Yeah.
Curious. But due to the underlying geographical, technological, and geopolitical constraints of this setting, Felicity was never going to realistically be as diverse as, say, a modern-day Earth, or even Final Fantasy XIV that has an entire planet and moon worth of nations, races, and cultures at its disposal. Now, before I even read the rest of Yoshi's answer, because I've read the Kotaku article that came off the back of it, that basically was like, Yoshi P's answer is an excuse, and what was the name of the article? Has a terrible answer for why the game is so white, and he kind of like loads in on Yoshi P. Yeah, where is it? Yeah, so IGN Yoshida gave an answer about why the world doesn't feature any black people or other people of color. His response made me go, yikes, in real life. Kind of skips around not really talking about it being that single continent thing. He sort of only picks and chooses certain parts from Yoshi P's answer. And then just sort of doubles down on, begs the question, why whites only? Why whites only? And then after acknowledging that the real world is more diverse than Velissa continued, the story we're telling is fantasy, yes, but it's also rooted in reality. Yoshida goes on to say, to which Kotaku's like, so which is it, Yoshida? You can't say that the fictional world isn't bound to reality and then use reality to explain why black people can't exist in Philistia. Pick a struggle and stick with it, please. That's the thing, I don't think he's picking a struggle. I think that's kind of the problem. That's the immediate thing you're coming out the gate, is that this game should be commenting on this struggle. That it has to. That everything has to pick some sort of camp on this front. Like that's just the immediate premise. It's like, you ask someone a question and then you kind of just don't accept the answer that, oh yeah, this was our logic going into it. And it's like, well, this isn't really showing to me which side of the fight you're on and which side of the fight that this game is representing. It's like, it's always just done in such a tonality of like conflict and adversary that it makes the question and the premise of immediately so uncomfortable.
Whether these pick a struggle, like, does it have to be?
Yeah, and because then it sort of extrapolates into other things, which is, what's really frustrating is all of these black and brown people have always existed in medieval Europe. If the creative leadership had done more research or checked their biases, then they might have noticed that black people have been living in Britain for 2,000 years, or that some black Europeans were canonized in the Holy Roman Empire, or realized that Iberia was under Islamic rule for approximately 500 years. Instead of a realistic imagining of medieval Europe, we've got FF16 instead. That's kind of the tonality that Kotaku article just is on with. But I think I should just quickly finish the rest of Yoshi P's answer. The story we're telling is fantasy, yes, but it's also rooted in reality. Conversely, the Final Fantasy series of games have always inherently dealt with conflict and struggle, especially between the empowered and those used and exploited by the privileged few. A prominent trend in human history. That's the thing. Final Fantasy, it does focus on difficult elements, and it usually is class warfare, and power coalescing, and I've lost my spot. And kind of like the religious and ideological discussions that it takes on. Conversely, Final Fantasy has always dealt with that in a game that by design allows players to experience that conflict and struggle first-hand through the dynamic, realistic battles. It can be challenging to assign distinctive ethnicities to either antagonist or protagonist without triggering audience preconceptions, inviting unwanted speculation, and ultimately stoking flames of controversy. I know some people are going to really hate on that as well, because, the idea is you have a representation in the game, and that isn't supposed to use like, oh, this is the black guy, this is how he's going to act to behave. This is the Asian guy, it's how he's going to act to behave. I get why Yoshi's answer is kind of limited there. But that's why, in general, I feel like his thing is we're just staying hands-off on this whole thing. We're just staying hands-off on this whole thing. We're just doing the kind of characters, kind of games that we've traditionally always done. And I know some people aren't going to like that. But what's just really hard to me is that it's in a fantasy game, and therefore, by design, a lot of the characters behave and act tropishly regardless. No, they act over the top. Now, maybe we're not going to get that so much for FF16. But you look at how people behave in FF7, for example, none of their characters behave or act normally. They're all outlandish. They're all on some sort of spectrum of odd behaviour. And the problem immediately becomes is if you insert a person of colour in that, like they did with Barrett, it's like, there we go, racist. It's like,
so they can't
it's
win.
Not necessarily, is it? It's like, which is it? You can't win. If you do insert them, but they don't behave completely normal in a game that isn't normal because it's high fantasy, suddenly that becomes an issue. But then it also becomes like I saw in Strangers of Paradise. We had Ash in there. And then it becomes, I saw people write things, oh yeah, well, Strangers of Paradise got the coke and black guy in it. It's like, okay, so now it needs to be, they have to behave a certain kind of way, and also now they need to be more than, they have to have a larger representation. So what, does it need to be a largely all black cast or person of colour cast? I know, it just seems like when it does happen, it gets criticised. When it doesn't happen, it gets criticised. And, even when I think about the topic as a whole, it's an area that I kind of don't even want to approach because...
It's hard to approach, it is.
It feels like just no matter which way that you go at it, there's going to be some attack made on it. But the rest of his answer is... ultimately stoking the flames of controversy. The best part of pulling inspiration directly from history, however, is that it allows us to revisit and re-examine our own past while also allowing us to create something new. In the end, we simply want the focus to be less on the outward appearance of our characters and more on who they are as people. People are complex and diverse in their natures, backgrounds, beliefs, personalities and motivations. People whose stories we can resonate with. There is diversity of the diversity that, while not all-encompassing, is synergistic with the setting we've created. It's true to the inspirations from which we are drawing. Okay. How's that sound in your mind, guys? This little discussion room. I thought when somebody gets asked that question, like Yoshi has to give some sort of answer, and his answer is kind of honest, where it's like, oh yeah, this is what we think of when we think of a medieval game.
Yeah.
We are Asian developers who, in this series and from day one, we've had a cognitive interest in this thing. Stylistically, aesthetically, it's become a cornerstone of this series, and that's just what we like to create. I mean, they have a fascination with our culture, even aesthetically, because I mean, I was chatting this morning about beauty standards, this kind of thing. When I only just found out about how it's so common in South Korea, at your 16th or it might be your 18th birthday, pretty much everyone has eyelid surgery. Everyone has eyelid surgery to remove some of the more culturally defined aesthetics that they don't consider to be beautiful. How many people in Japan you've got who are trying to whiten their skin and then and copy certain Western styles? I mean, we saw it. We'd be walking through Japan, and you'd have women with crazy heels.
Literally just thinking it.
Crazy heels that
Struggling
they can't
to walk in them,
and they're like flopping around. But then you come over to the West, and everyone over there is trying to make themselves brown. Sticking themselves in like tanning beds for hours and hours on end. And it's just, whenever you look at beauty standards, usually it just comes to that they're ultimately pretty hollow, shallow, vapid, stupid, unhealthy, and that everyone is trying to either look like something that they're really not. And that's going across both the aisles. Now, I know it's a little bit different when it comes to character representation in the game, but I just get that sense that Japan have that kind of intrinsic appeal to Western stylizations in some regards, and that's where this series has come from, and that's where it's continuing. And if they don't even have enough interest or this like explosive need and want and desire to represent their own culture that much, well then why are they really going to be doing it for other cultures as well? That's kind of thing where it's really interesting with Square Enix being the ones who kind of get this conversation pinned down on them. Because if you ask this question of a Western developer, oh, you don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance on this front. But it's the fact that they are an Asian company and Asian developers. So now how you really go at them for being kind of blindsided on representation when they're not doing it for themselves, I know it's always interesting when this comes round, this circuits round every year. F14 has proven he has no malicious intentions whatsoever. It's such a varied gaming culture. F16 isn't what some people want. That's the thing. Intentions really matter. Now, some people say it's not, and that it seems like just by design, creating something in the entertainment industry, like you have to participate in broader social dialogues. You have to. You have to. And the thing that I found with that is even the ones that do attempt and get a boardroom of people together who are hyper-focused on what's the social narrative going on. I keep coming back to it, but Rings of Power is just a fantastic one. Where I watched that thing, my favourite character was the dwarfs. The Black Dwarf lady, loved her. I had no issue. The Black Dwarf lady I loved. The Black Elf dude, didn't give a single shit about him. Nothing to do with their skin colour.
It was just the character.
It was just what was going on with their characters. Now, some people got really, and I can understand why, some people like that, like, oh, it's Tolkien. Tolkien set this in, kind of, Western folklore. This was literally, he would describe what the elves look like. Skin as pale as, or fair, should I say. Snow or whatever. And that he very specifically described these kind of things. And the people then would wail in on Tolkien being an old racist and stuff. I mean, this guy was 100 years ago, man. But anyway, it came out, people made a big deal of it. Honestly, I didn't give a single shit when I was watching Rings of Power, so they did that whole representation. What did it matter? But then something like how much focus they put on strong women in the game. They made it so that Galadriel, the reason why they didn't show that she has a husband and a son in that entire show was because they thought it would strip autonomy from her. A character who to show that she's strong, she has to sit like mansplained in a way that I wouldn't even sit, like the widest she could possibly go. And it's like, okay, so you've hyper-focused on the social narrative here to portray strong women, and you've got a whole board of people who all they do in the interviews is talk about that, how strong she is, how strong she is. And what you've actually done, what your actual premise is what you've said is she couldn't be a strong woman in this game while also having a husband and also being a mother.
I think that'd make her more strong. Like she's got a kid at home, and she's got a husband that she's trying to fight for as well. Like she's trying to fight for her people, like her people she loves.
Exactly.
Instead of for a brother that's died years ago, and that's her whole revenge arc is because she wants to.
How is it that you somehow put all this effort into showing what a strong woman is? She doesn't need no man. She doesn't need no man, and yet you've somehow done worse than what an old white dude from 100 years ago was able to do.
Yeah.
Because the Galadriel that he wrote, badass bitch.
Yeah.
badass bitch.
Even the way she was portrayed in Peter
Had a
Jackson's
husband,
one.
had a child, still hit all of these feminine traits that, and portrayed them in a powerful way.
Yeah.
She was feminine in all her regards. But then you get Galadriel and you have to to show that she's a strong woman, she has to do nothing that a woman does. Have kids, have married. It doesn't show any of her traits, just makes all of her behaviours overtly masculine, which is to say, what's the problem?
Yeah.
What's the problem with being
I mean,
or female? I know that's like a different discussion, but it just feels like even when you do pay a room full of people $1 billion to focus excessively on a social dialogue, you actually somehow come away not hitting the mark with it even more. And that, I don't know, it's just if we're trying to get to the stage where we just sort of normalize different cultures, different representation in the game, then it just doesn't feel like it's going to get there. Where it always keeps becoming such a heated thing. And I understand that it has to be heated to make progress, because it wouldn't be at this stage where it's at. So it's a really hard thing to balance. I don't know. It was. I thought Yoshi gave the best answer he could. With it.
How about you?
But I have to maybe concede. Well, why weren't the down mix Middle Eastern?
Yeah.
Because saying they're not interested in doing it, I guess.
I want to. Sure.
And if you're not interested in doing it, is that inherently wrong? Is that inherently wrong?
I mean, you have to ask, is it something that goes through their head as well?
A bias.
Do you think it goes through their head when they're writing those games that we need to write, or do they just want to write the characters they want to write? Like, it's not inherently.
I don't think about it.
It's not inherently bad if they're just like, this is the way the character will be written, and that's how I imagine them being. Like, they haven't think we can't make them people of colour, and that they've just written the characters they want to write out, and it's. I think this is what the difference between Japan, the Eastern and Western side of things is the Japanese generally just write characters they want to write and the universes they want to write and things like that. And it's the same with Hideo Kojima when he always loved James Bond, which is why he wrote the Metal Gear Solid series. There's a few sort of, obviously there's diversity in that, but a lot of the primary characters from what I know a bit about the Metal Gear Solid games from what I played, they're primarily American. It's all based on American nations and things like that, and it's from an Asian developer. Like.
And this isn't, because the thing is, it's not like they're just suddenly whitewashing the games now in a vapid way to try to appeal to the West. They've done it from day one. They have done it from day one. Do you know what I mean? So it's not just some hollow, we suddenly now need to survive more in the West, so we're going to make a game with white characters. It's not that with Square Enix. But yeah, this Kotaku interview kind of continues on. Why did they enforce a whites-only boundary in the first place? After acknowledging the real world, goes about the Olympic, and that apparently this person emailed Square Enix to ask how it decided on whether or not a story element violated the developer's narrative boundaries. And I'll let you know once I've got a response. What does that even mean? You've emailed them to ask whether or not a story element violated the developer's narrative boundary. I can't even make heads or tails of that, quite frankly.
Know this. Thank you very much, mate.
Yay! I appreciate to be able to chat like this. Much love to you guys. Let's have this conversation with respect. Yeah, it's kind of cool to kick back and have a waffle room more than just hitting up the streams and getting wrecked, because that's what we'll be doing today. We're getting wrecked. I think we will get this fight and we will give it a go. We might have to start a new stream. But I think this culture war will eventually implode and reset sooner or later. It's already happening. All sides of colours are coming together to question this. That's the thing. I've always said that I believe strongly in the Overton window, whether that's on racism or veganism or sexism or the political scales and spectrum, that the Overton window is this thing that shifts, and that for it to shift, sometimes you need to go through phases of hyperfocus and then relaxation, and that you need to have all kinds of individuals on all sides of the spectrum, you know, to cover the blind spots. And that, yeah, there was a stage in Age of Media that the way that some of the portrayals of some things was very superficial. When they did stick a person of colour in, they had some of the most out there kind of on the nose characterizations that it don't fly, and it doesn't need to be that way. But I would say it doesn't need to be that way with any characters, and that it's naturally happening as a process as characters are becoming more fleshed out, more grounded, more real, more nuanced, more three-dimensional, and that, yeah, we're moving out of an era of just severe tropiness. But yeah, has it had to have a dialogue where some people hyper-focus on it to shift the Overton window, and that some people take it too far? Take the dialogue so far, like hardcore vegan activists who just go extreme. You know, a best example of it is like with gun law. For example, you get to a position where you can't even shift people on being like, yo, let's like limit the certain like capacity of some of these guns that you can have, and just in a landscape where not much is going on, you can have people argue no. And like it becomes an adopted position. Yeah. No, you shouldn't even have background checks. You should be able to get any kind of gun, no matter the power, no matter the capacity, easy peasy. And then something happens, and all of a sudden, a massive wave of take all guns comes out, and then all of a sudden, what was perceived as the acceptable position of, no, we should have no regulation at all. Suddenly they shift. It's like, okay, no, you don't take all the guns, that's too far. But, you know, okay, so we do this, so like, do you know what I mean? It shifts the window. And that's why whenever I see more zealot kind of activists, I mean, we had people with the climate crisis, for example, in the UK, we've had a massive wave of that. Distinction Rebellion.
Yes.
Extinction
Rebellion.
Extinction Rebellion. You've got people out gluing their heads to motorway floors. Gluing their faces to motorway floors. Going and like trashing buildings and stuff, and
well, they were at the edge.
Like chaining themselves to like supermarket aisle. Like certain groceries. And it's like, they're nuts. They're too far. But also, are they kind of making are they making some kind of, are they creating some sort of dialogue? No. Whenever I see it now, I'm not quite as vehemently against it. So I'm like, it's all playing out. It's all playing out the way it needs to, because we are, and that's the one thing I do have hope and faith with humanity, is we are moving towards a more understanding and inclusive world, the age of travel, where we can actually visit each other's countries and live among one another. It is making the distinction of self and other like slowly watered down. And I do generally find when you look at people of our age, we're not quite as vehement in blaming all the woes of the world on immigrants. You speak to any person above the age of 50 now, I shouldn't say any, but a lot. Anything that's wrong with the country, it's immigrants. There's immigrants coming over. You then speak to the younger generations, and they realise there's a bit more than that. So I do get like an optimistic sense that humanity is slowly moving in a more. But then you go on certain Reddit forums, and you're thrust right back into nope, we're fucked.
Do you think if aliens came down tomorrow...
We're going backwards.
Do you think if aliens came down tomorrow to start eating people, they would pick and choose who they were eating? They wouldn't care, would they?
Yeah. That's what they say. We always fear aliens because the idea that they would come down and do to us what we do to animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to quickly finish off this Kotaku article because there are some also comments with this article. While still disappointing, I don't find it very surprising that a developer from a country in which 98% of the population share the same ethnicity and cultural struggles, yet struggle to grasp the depth and importance of representation issues. Where is it? Yeah, someone else pointed out that the quote that the Kotaku guy uses is limited, kind of not referencing that this is based on a continent, that they're trying to represent a cultural sort of isolation, that while there's a variety within it, it is still cast out in its own sort of self-sustained ecosystem, and that it's a lot more contained in that sense, and that's why they've done that. And also to show the sort of the limitations of the world, which kind of really plays into the Northern Territory, for example, being cast out in shadow, where it's like a world that is still kind of not fully explored. There's still mysteries. There's still sort of unexplored terrains within it. So that does add a bit of context. But then somebody said, how does that actually change anything, though? Non-white people existed in medieval Europe. And no, for that matter, none of what you mentioned here necessitates racial homogeneity. Homogeneity? Yes. But yeah, Kotaku says, I just rewatched the last trailer, the one above, the latest one, and saw a giant winged lady throw ice shards. Apparently that's not too over the top fantasy realism, but bringing in people from different races is a step too far. Yeah, you're really reaching. You're really reaching to... What I wonder is, what could Yoshi P have said to that question? What could he have said? What answer would have been acceptable for why there aren't people of colour in this game? And the true answer is none. The true answer is none. There is no answer that he could give. Because if you're always going to reference either back to how this thing actually historically was, or you're going to reference to it's a fantasy game where a chick can throw around ice shards, therefore people of colour should be able to happen. So there's no answer that exists that can satisfy. Just say it is. But then the question I would ask this Kotaku guy is, so how many people do you need? Do you need it to be an entire nation that is ethnically diverse? Again, I wouldn't give a fuck. I would not give a flying fuck. And maybe I can say that from a position that I've not lived under not having representation. So that's something I can honestly admit that might be my white ass boy privilege, having no concept of. And that's why I don't even want to touch this subject, but I'm like, no, I'm going to anyway. Because it's immediately like, it's the same sort of thing. Whoa. Is anything I say in terms of this thing just narrow-minded, blindsided, and just because I've always had a representation, I don't have an issue with.
Yeah.
So I get that, but also it does frustrate that when you get an interviewer, who has a chance to talk about 16, that we keep cycling back to these same goddamn fucking discussions of race and gender, and why can't we just talk about the actual exciting stuff, the actual juice? Those are a couple of interview questions where you started going down the right path. We're starting to get some interesting storytelling. Go further with that.
Yeah.
Go further with that instead of everything cycling back. It's like when you get a whole cast of actors in a room from a show, and the first questions, you best believe that when people stand up, they're all just based on the social dialogue. And nothing about the show itself. Nothing about the story. Why?
Maybe creators should just be left to make their games and we appreciate what we get. Yeah. That's mine. But again, yeah, it's like you say, not coming from that area. We're both white and that, and you don't really have to ask those questions. But I just like to be able to play games. I don't care, like in terms of what colour they are in the game and things like that. So it's as long as the character's written well.
Yeah.
Then I'm cool with that.
Yeah. So why did the developers decide to include only white characters in the trailer? Yoshida has only one answer that sounds entirely like a non-answer. It can be challenging to assign distinctive ethnicities to either antagonists or protagonists without triggering audience preconceptions. I believe that developers, this is what they're saying, I believe that developers can overcome that challenge without blowing up the internet. If the AAA blockbuster God of War Ragnarok can feature a black Angerboda? What is that?
Angerboda.
Angerboda as a major character in its Norse mythology, then a totally made-up world can do the same. And is that it? So, by your standards, that would be okay if there's just a person of colour. Just a singular one. Why not? Why not more? Why? Because then, you know, just like Ash had in Strangers of Paradise, how does that play into the token black person conversation? It's like you can stick that in there, but are you sticking it in there just to appease? Oh yeah, look, we've got this person of colour in there. In which case, it's vapid and hollow. Unless you're actually bringing, race into the dialogue of the story, whether there's something there that you want to tell, then it seems like it has meaning. Then it feels like how you handle it, the way, the message that you give off, then it has value because you're bringing that into the story. If the story has nothing to do with that, then why all of a sudden does just having one person of colour doing it? Because then at the point, you're just hitting a quota. You are just hitting a quota. And if honestly your feelings on people of colour and their representation in the game can be appeased as simply as you
tick that box,
tick the box, then it's hollow. It's so fucking hollow, in my opinion.
It is. Yeah.
Does that really change anything?
Yeah. This is what Kotaku is about. They wish to derail every game discussion with irrelevant nonsense. Yeah, that's why I don't really look into Kotaku that much. I find they are very much like that with their articles.
I don't get it. Maybe I can't get it, but it's. I feel completely indifferent on the subject. There's so many characters that have been my favourites, regardless of their skin colour. But yeah, these new quotes make me feel. Oh, okay, hold on. Back up. So yeah, if God of War Ragnarok can have a black character in it, then a totally made-up world could do the same. Especially if the developers are looking to make Final Fantasy into a modern franchise that feels fresh to newcomers to the series. How does having a person of colour in that do that? How does making a series feel fresh and inviting in newcomers, how is that solved by having a person of colour in the game? Making something feel fresh and appealing to newcomers is a whole broader range of other metrics.
Yeah.
A whole other spectrum of things that you need to do. Just having a person of colour in it, does that really hit that mark? But yeah, these new quotes makes me feel very cynical about Yoshida's comments from the previous interview. In August, he said he wanted to revitalise the Final Fantasy series, which had become mired in its own long-standing tradition in terms of whether Final Fantasy is successfully adapting to industry trends. Well, this is Yoshi's. In terms of whether Final Fantasy is successfully adapting to industry trends, I believe that the series is currently struggling. That's what Yoshi said. And you're going to somehow take that? You're going to take that and you're going to mire that what Yoshi P is clearly talking about is the combat system, the world format, the narrative in the games. The gameplay elements itself, whether Final Fantasy is keeping up with all of that. You're going to play that you're cynical about Yoshi's comment because you're just going to water that down. You're just going to distill that down just to the racial discussion. Clearly, that's not what he's talking about. Clearly, that's not what he means about bringing Final Fantasy into the new age. And you know that. You know that. And that's why it's so disingenuous, because you are putting words in his mouth.
Yeah.
Or you're taking words out of his mouth and then doing a bunch of fiddly-diddly bumfuckery to him to present a whole different narrative, and you're making him like say things or say that the things that he did say, he's not living up to. Which isn't the case, because that's not what he had in his mind when he said that. And you know that's not what he had in his mind when he said that. We know why Final Fantasy has been struggling as a series. We know what it's been struggling to adapt with and to.
Yeah.
And it certainly hasn't been that. It certainly isn't. It's not based on that point, because the series has never really focused in on representation issues. Now, maybe you would like that. Maybe. I wouldn't mind that. But that's not up for us to decide. That's up for them to decide. And I'd want them to decide to have that conversation because they feel like they have something of value and they have a team that want to do it. Not because they feel they need to. I wouldn't want to create a game surrounding the discussion of race, because I don't feel like I'm wholly equipped in that field. No. I don't feel like I'm equipped. I don't feel like I have the right framework, the right perspective, the right POV. I couldn't do it. So why would I try to? But what you're essentially saying is, no, you need to. You have to. You have to get involved in this dialogue. Okay, but they're not equipped at it. Great, so what happens when they fumble it on that front? You'll have ammunition to fuck them with.
Yeah.
When they don't do it properly. So when Yoshi P comes out in an interview and he just gives you an honest, I'm just kind of staying up, this is what we had in the head, and we're just sort of staying off this thing because we don't want our game to be blowing up in a controversial way.
Yeah.
No, which is actually what we know will happen if we try to get quagmired in this discussion. So we're just going to stay hands off. You're like, no, how dare you? How dare you stay hands off? This goes against what you said. No, it doesn't, man. No, it fucking doesn't. You know it doesn't. But he said in the interview in Inverse, you know what doesn't help with trying to make Final Fantasy not feel like it's over 30 years old? Giving fans all-white cast that runs counter to both industry standards and actual history. What do you mean by industry standards? Is it a standard now? So it's now a standard.
I think that's what they try to push for, yeah. I think...
Why? Why does it need to be a standard? All right. For all that Yoshida is lauded for being a man who saved the Final Fantasy franchise, his creativity is also limited by a genre that has never been fair to Black fans around the world. FF16 may be the most mature game in the series, but its outlook on human history is a step backwards for modern JRPGs. Really, it's a step backwards. High fantasy, anime-esque games not participating where they never have really participated in that dialogue is now a step back. No, that's Kotaku's take on it.
Yeah.
I just want to lay it out there again that I don't really feel passionate on the front of people asking these questions or asking for these things. I really wouldn't mind either way if they do. If all of Wallode had been all black people over there, and the Dalmex down in the Middle East, they had all been Asian, and all of Rosaria and Sambrique had been white people, I really wouldn't have mind.
No.
It wouldn't have changed my perception of the game in the fucking slightest.
No.
But maybe that's because I'm in a position not to care again. So yeah, it's not on the face. It's not on the value that whether they do or they don't do it that I care. I kind of get annoyed with this discussion. It's not even that the discussion is had. It's that the way that you then have the discussion and you facilitate it and you kind of do it in sort of dishonest kind of confrontational ways, and you make such statements as to pretty much be trying to brand the entire series as this archaic of thing that is setting back, and like you're putting like a malicious tonality over the whole thing. It's always kind of accusatory in a way, and that to me is when it just takes it into that little bit of extra, that little bit of extra that I don't think really helps the point that you're trying to make.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with James. That's what he said here. It's the way that people ask it and respond to it that makes me sour. And they seem to be wanting conflict. That's what I get from a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Is they are looking for... They're not happy unless there's some sort of controversy, because they know that it's like we said about rant videos. It gets clicks, and this is why these news outlets do it.
Yeah, and can you not potentially consider that is immediately why Yoshi is kind of saying, yeah, we just don't want any like massive kind of confrontational explosion around this thing. Right? That's kind of why we're not touching or doing anything there. And well, there you go. Are you not kind of realizing that every time you come at it with this kind of energy, that actually you might be backpedaling it? That any kind of representation that they might go for, or kind of any kind of character's portrayal that they might do in a certain way, you know, they might create a character like they would any other character, but they have to go, oh, wait, this is a person of colour. Right? Can we just make sure and double check and triple check? Well, we're not doing anything, are we? We're not doing anything sort of out of the line on the thing. And you put this layer of extra tension on it that could actually be inhibiting any kind of like feeling of natural kind of progression towards representation. I think. But yeah, that was the little hot dropper that was stuck at the end. I think we've rambled on that all long enough. More than long enough. We should go get our butts slapped by some elementals. We should probably start a new stream. We'll go over, we'll fight. I think we're going to get this fight pretty much first time. I know, I've not been reading these comments too much. Who's still in the house?
Quite a few people still in.
There's not much use discussing it. These people aren't here to listen and have this conversation. Yeah, it does. It doesn't feel like there's a two-way street, and I've had certain discussions, even with people I'm really close with, and I really care about. You know, it's come up in conversation, for example, where women are in the workplace at the moment, and the process that's gone through. And immediately there's that thing where I don't have perception of it, so you immediately are on the back foot in the conversation. And if the other person wants to have a conversation with you, that, you know, it's either that they're going to be disingenuous with it and use the immediate disadvantage that you have in that to gain leverage over you, like it's a us versus you kind of discussion. And then, you know, if I portray my POV on it, on where that has come, just on that discussion of, for example, where women are in the world in terms of, you know, if there is a patriarchy and that this is a man's world and that corporatism and has all kind of come out of a very masculine tribalism that's continuing to grow out, but then you want to bring into the discussion about how no one really benefits, especially men, from the way that this world is set up, how it's systematically set up. You know, men have the highest depression rates, suicide rates. These are the problems that don't benefit any of us whatsoever. So it's not just a man versus woman thing, or if I try to have a discussion that, even if men do, you know, get front and centered for promotions, being climbed up a ladder and whatnot, yeah, that might seem like, oh yeah, you're benefiting, but what does that do with dudes? It puts them in a mindset that they're here to basically be slaves, to go out, earn money, that their status, their worth as a man is attached to the job that they hold and the salary that they pull in. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you might see that as an advantage, but there's disadvantages with it as well. And then you try to add nuanced things to the discussion where it's like, oh yeah, women only just got the rights to vote. True. But you go back a little bit stage to that, peasants only just got the right to vote.
Yeah.
So it's all of us. It was a class thing.
Yeah.
It's just about the haves and the fucking have-nots. And that's the thing, so much of these conversations about the haves and the have-nots. And it's just funny how so many of the have-nots just get into this never-ending cyclical debate amongst each other over who's fucking gaining. Oh, you're the one who's gaining. No, none of us are. None of us are. No. We're sitting arguing about things that none of us really benefit from.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like the way that you talk about Yoshi with this thing. It's like, what do you think Yoshi P has to gain by creating all-white game? It's like you make it sound like there's an agenda there, that there's something there that is inherently off. And it's like there's nothing to gain. These are all just biases and deep-rooted systemic things that we've all kind of lived under, and we've all gained and lost. And been victims of in different ways, and it's such like a complex thing that why is it so us and self? Why is it so divisive in nature when it's actually something that we all kind of, to different degrees, of course, living under.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Peterson's one of them, isn't he? The other day, the article, I think we spoke about it before, but the article the other day that somebody wrote because he cried on a news outlet, and people were attacking him for doing that because it wasn't a manly thing to do. Like, and it's double-edged sword everywhere, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't agree with a lot of Jordan's things, but when he came out and they said that basically you're the king of the simps, and they were kind of saying it in like a jokey. Kind of mocking manner. Like, oh, you're the king of the simps. You're attracted to these simps, and like he broke down tears. He's like, you know who the people like you're calling simps, like, and then they're like, ha ha ha, simps, ha ha. Well, actually, what you talk about is like lonely, depressed men who can't find their footing in the world whatsoever. And I thought the point was that we're supposed to give voices to the marginalised, and that's the thing. Marginalised. You do want to give them the voices, but it works both ways. Do you know what I mean? It works. There's no particular like class, race, or gender of person. There's just like sitting pretty on everything. You've got it all pretty. Because whether you're a woman, whether you're a person of colour, whether you're white, whether you're a white dude. I've just seen so many people like fall into these camps where they just go and they research all the things that their particular class is suffering under, and when you hyper focus on it and you listen to only that voice, it's so easy to be like, oh right, yeah, this is it, and it does. It just makes you narrow-minded, which I guess.
It was not Sims. Oh, it was incels, wasn't it? They were kind of calling him King of the Incels, King of the Sims. Jordan sitting there paying Twitch girls out.
I mean, Sims and incels is one revolving door, right? They're one of the same, kind of. I mean, what is the difference between well, a simp is someone who will just basically try to chuck all their cash and resources and attention just so that they get a bloody whiff of somebody's like
bathwater.
Literally bathwater. Whereas an incel is someone who's developed a victimized mentality where it's not me, it's women, it's dating culture, it's the systemic selfishness of the world. The reason why there's nothing wrong with me, it's the world that's fucked. And fuck that, rather than kind of being self-reflective. Because that's the thing, it's like you can find every narrative and agenda under the sun to back up why the problems you have in your life are there, and you best believe that it will lead to somewhere. Because it does. It comes from somewhere, but the question is, do you stop at that point? At that point where you go, okay, yeah, this is the reason why my life fucking sucks. Or do you go, okay, I understand where my disadvantage is and why I've got myself into this position, but this is why I'm not going to let it rule me. This is why I'm not going to let it dictate me. Yeah. These are the steps and the perspective changes that I need to adopt so that I don't see only that. Because that shit will only limit you. And that's why I said in the previous video, happiness and self-empowerment is kind of an act of rebellion against what is. You have to have an active rebellion. Yeah. You have to kind of see things for how they realistically seem, but we'll go, okay, even if I have to drop seeing that thing, or I need to reframe my mind, even if initially that seems being naive and deluded to things, you know, a situation comes up that is like, you're in a freaking hole, but you're telling yourself every day, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be grateful for things. But around you, it seems like there's nothing to be grateful for. It seems like you're having an act of rebellion, that thing. That's a powerful thing to go through, because that's the next step you've got to take. It's like those people of colour who did end up becoming entrepreneurs or business leaders, becoming remarkable successes. No, they saw what weight that they had against us. They saw all the systems in place that were going to make it infinitely difficult. But they didn't just go, oh yeah, that's why I can't do it. That's why I can't do it. No, it's that next step beyond you got to take it to. I'm a Teeth Simp, Air Simp, yep, me too, Unisimp, yeah. Honestly, I've never been much of a Yestola simp. I don't know, I've never really simped for Yestola.
No, I can't see it really personally, but Ginge has many simps. He is taking over the channel.
No, that's not to say because he's a cat girl, because the bunny girls I'll simp for all day, every day. I don't know. Yestola just ain't one of them.
We simp for Ginger, but who simps for Pez?
Oh God, now come the push-ups. Let's go now. I need some.
I thought everybody simped for Pez.
No. People crave drama and conflict. People get to find something to be pissed about. That's the thing. When I saw this story today, it's like... It bounced so much off the passionate vids we were having in the jungle that my mind was sort of focusing on that. But then when I saw the controversial thing, I felt my attention go to it. So it's very, very alluring. It's very seductive, controversial stuff. I really felt it pull, because then I started thinking about that more. It's like, well, I really don't want to. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I want to talk about the.
Get out of my head.
Get out of my head. Yeah. Get out of my head, man. They were reaching to the moon and back with that one. Yeah, a little bit.
Take out the anger on the elemental.
Yeah.
How long did we sit there after the stream yesterday? Just.
Yeah, let's go slap some element. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about Cheers coming. I don't know how this started. It wasn't like this 10 years ago, even with the internet. You know what I think a big part of it is? And I'm guilty of it as well. But I see a lot of 18 and 19-year-olds, and I really respect them for it. My cousin is one of them, but she wants to get into activism and social things for women around the world, and all of these other like really charged, multifaceted, highly complex, nuanced things. There's a lot of people who feel strongly about social dialogues going on, and they want to be involved. Yeah. They want to be involved, and that's not a bad thing. But also when you're only... Now, I don't want to poo, because I generally think that the younger generations are way fucking smarter, way more clued on. But still, when you've only just left school and you've only just become an adult, you've not really had enough time on this planet to fully form these POVs.
Yeah.
And it's hard to channel that passion. And because I know just in my own life where I used to channel my passions and how wrong I was. And how wrong I still may be.
I mean, how many times?
You just... I'm sure you guys have had the same thing, right? Where firmly held beliefs that you really looked through a certain fixed lens, and then they just changed. It just changed completely. And what that kind of done to me is just like, just accept that the only thing I know is that I don't really know. And that's not a bad position to have. I feel like that's the problem with the internet, is sometimes we all just need to take a little bit of a thing where we don't know. We don't know. Even that Bayonetta fucking voice actor thing. How many people were getting called out on that?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we didn't know the full story.
Everybody jumped on it at first, and it was like, actually, didn't.
There's more
really
to it. And it's like sometimes actually just sitting on the sidelines and just be like, yo, I don't know the full fucking deals of these things. Like,
and why isn't that a stance that people can take more? Why can't you step back and just before jumping in? Because that's what people do. Is they jump in straight away.
Because the thing is, it's a natural human evolutionary thing to want to be seen. It's a part of what we come into life craving the most. Is we want to be seen. We want to be recognised. We want to. That's a big part of why incel community and community as a whole is breaking down and people feel lost. Is because they don't see anything of themselves reflected in anything. In the people around them, in the job that they're doing. You know, that's what brings purpose to a job, is when you're seeing something that you're bringing to it. Yeah. You're coming into the world. That's what we're here to do. And that feeling, that urge, if it's not being filled, it goes on hyperdrive. It goes hyperdrive, it goes crazy, it goes erratic, and then it starts getting fucking angry and angsty. Yeah. So it's like if somebody perceives a game either negatively or positively, how much they start going on to every comment. No, this is why the game is fucking great. Or no, this is why you're wrong. This is why the game absolutely fucking sucks and you're an idiot for thinking otherwise. It's that primal urge to be seen.
Whereas I'm the complete opposite.
You
don't want to be seen.
You are. Ginger's the backdrop man. Mr. Cellophane. No one knows his name. Really? You think One Piece would fix the world, Wu-Tai? I've never seen it, man. Oh no. Am I part of the problem? Do I need to watch it, man?
I've heard good things about One Piece. It's not something I've actually watched properly, but it looks freaking crazy from the stuff I've seen from some of these films.
I did see that, James. I did see that Moogles... Well, we knew Chocobos were confirmed. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of Chocobo deaths in 16. A lot of Chocobo deaths. But Moogles are confirmed. Yeah. I wonder what they're going to look like.
Yeah, they're going to look so weird in 16, unless they have to make them look more...
Because that's the thing. In 15, we didn't have Moogles. They just had that plushie.
Yeah.
Like Moogles in a realism setting. That's why they didn't put them in 15.
Maybe they'll put Moogles on a dark path in this one, and they'll be more demonic looking this time. Maybe they'll exist up on the top archipelagos of the Northern Kingdom.
Really? Do you want some dark Moogles?
I think it'd be quite funny to see.
So it's just like Moogles who've just been like haggard by the woes of the world.
Yeah.
Can't fucking take it, Kubo.
Like this. Another...
Bro. Thank you so much, man. Love you, dude. I feel the same way, Ginge. Just want to be safe, lol. Yeah, and I want to be anything but, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chalk and cheese.
Well, we were chatting about that at a restaurant yesterday, about Ginge potentially. We were chatting about ayahuasca. And
yeah, I just had the thought of it. I was just...
Yeah, Ginge had thought of it, and also you were saying about maybe going on to it on your own one day.
I think it would be quite...
Because you were saying about throwing myself out the deep end a bit.
Yeah, it's a lot of the stuff, the big stuff I've done in life is obviously with... I enjoy being in groups of people and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think something like that even just travelling on your own. I think I've seen a lot of people gain a lot of experience from travelling on their own and things like that as well. So
yeah. That's the important thing. I think that sometimes to get real value, you need to do the things that are inherently different to what you're usually called to doing. So for me, a really valuable thing that I know I need to come towards is settling down, finding a stable home environment, getting myself into a routine, having a calendar that actually, these are antithetical to the things I like, but because of that, it will add me value.
Yeah.
Versus how I used to be, sometimes learning how to not be such an opinionated asshole. I still am. But do you mean like learning how to sometimes take what is your nature, do what's counter to it?
Yeah.
And that will always come with discomfort. Always. It will always feel weird. It will always take like effort and like conscious like a conscious focus to do it, otherwise you will lose sight of it. But that's why I think that old fridge magnet, comfort is the enemy of progress, is so true. Is so true. Sometimes try to do something different.
Is that a brie I see in the chat?
To what you immediately want to do. Wait, is there a brie?
There is a brie in the chat.
There's a brie, and there's gonna be a brie next to me. Hello, baby. In what is it? I think she's leaving in like 4 days. I'm gonna see her in 6.
God, it's the 5th, yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Ginger's out, Brie is in.
Yeah. You won't see me
No,
anymore,
we're gonna be a tight little squad, and then we go over to Bali, and my twin and Tommy, Tiny Timbo will come out. Good times, man. Good times.
Ginge, what do you feel is the most powerful religion, mythos,
I'm very opinionated. I wouldn't have guessed that from you, Alexandra. What do I think the most powerful religion, mythos, ideology is? I feel like Hinduism. Hinduism, for being able to propel yourself into higher forms of emotion and expression and experience. If you really want to transcend, if you really want to pop the lid, I feel Hinduism has the most diverse range of like deities and qualities and elements to it that is broad enough that it can really take you to places. You know, whether that's like worshipping Ganesha and doing that in a sense of being entrepreneurial and your perception of money and fortune, or whether you go towards Shiva, which is sort of cultivating your energy and sort of destroying illusion and sort of misconceptions and confusion that you're under, or whether you go to someone like Kali. Kali's crazy. You go to like a Kali cult, or my friend Sully worships Kali.
I just started thinking of Sully.
Sully, he worships her, and that's dark, it's heavy energy. She's like, it's wild, it's mania energy. But similar to like the Norse mythology or like the Norse religion, like with the berserkers, like there's something to be gained in that. Do you mean like going out and stripping stuff? So there's because there's these different tenets to the human condition that can be touched that we've kind of narrowed to this really comfortable range that fits nicely in with society. No, there's a whole range of human experience that we don't even perceive, that we've lost total sight of. Some of it that's really core and integral to us, and we've been disconnected from for so long. We've forgotten our true selves. We don't know our natural selves.
Yeah.
Mankind has got himself lost in a play, and I think Hinduism is broad enough to do that, but I think like Taoism is just a really distilled, more sensical, like a more rational mind can use it as a more stable vehicle, I would say. Hinduism, you can get lost in kind of all sort of crazy. Whereas Taoism is like Stoicism, just direct, it's contained, it's something that anyone can relate and resonate to. So it depends what gives power. When you mean power, right? Are you trying to reach other aspects of the human condition that you previously didn't think existed? Or are you just happy to kind of coexist in this one, and that your life is to be a part of this world? It is to hold down a job and a family and experience sort of simple pleasures in life. You know, play games and it all depends on what you feel personally called to and like what kind of life you want to live. Which that's different for everyone, right?
Yeah.
It's different for everyone.
Yeah, I can't say it's something that I've sort of dabbled in, like, I don't know too much about ideologies and things like that, but
yeah,
I think sort of Buddhist and the more Stoic sort of side of it is something I resonate with a bit more.
Yeah, Buddhism and Stoicism are sort of universally powerful for a reason.
I get there's...
Everyone needs to feel peace, right?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to feel aligned. Everyone needs to kind of feel centered and grounded. And I think more than anything, actually, if I had to be really honest, it's the most powerful thing is to be able to have awareness. If you're able, I always call it the circuit breaker. If you're able to develop the circuit breaker, which is what kind of meditation are the practices that puts you in a state where you're able to observe what's going on in your mind, you can do that, your life can change. I read this thing about a guy who said he wouldn't answer yes or no to anything until after 24 hours have passed, and how much that changed his life.
Yeah.
It's that ability that when a situation comes out and a decision needs to be made or an argument comes out, are you able to catch yourself before your emotions spiral out? Because once your emotions go, you're following it like a rabbit down a hole. You have no control at that point.
Yeah.
You're done for. And that's where shit can just lose itself. If you're able to just catch yourself early on and go, whoa, okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? We had such a deep chat about this on the balcony the other day. I don't know if you mind me sharing it.
No, it's fine. It's all,
Well, we were
it's all growth, isn't it?
Yeah, we were just chatting about how Gingy finds himself sometimes in scenarios like locked up. Wanting to give a friend a piece of advice, but then you question it's like, oh, but that thing that he does, I kind of do it myself. So who am I to give that advice? Who am I to give that value? And I don't know if the thing I'm going to say, or if I go to that person who I've not, in a social situation, if I'm going to say anything that's of value to them. And that really locks you up at times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just saw Ree's just telling me to get you to call after the stream. She's going out in a bit.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, absolutely. We have a little chat. Chat. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back with some elementals. Because, we'll probably do this later in the day. Because they're just going to kill us.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get them.
Yeah. Sorry, I broke your...
No. Well, the thing I sort of said to Ginge that I just perceive as a remedy is if you could just catch how you're feeling and do two things. Speak your truth and show your intention. That could ease everything. Like if you just walk up to that person at the party and you just say, you know what's just been going through my mind? That I really want to chat with you.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it's about. I just have this feeling. Well, you say to your friend, you'll have a friend who will say some things and you feel like you didn't give him advice because you felt like he was kind of bullshitting himself. But you don't know how to give him advice on that thing. So you kind of just give a soft answer. I'm like, speak the truth.
Yeah.
Say, yo, mate, you said that thing to me and I know you think that's true, but I'm just getting this feeling that what you're saying isn't the whole truth. And that actually you're holding yourself back and that I think there's more to that.
Yeah.
Now that can be a very confrontational thing.
I find it very confrontational, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, oh, I don't want to go there. That's
even just the thought of going up to somebody, say there's like somebody you want to talk to at a party, like we've discussed many times, there's been a few times, and it seems very foreign to me to be actually go up to somebody and be like, I feel like I want to have a chat with you, but I don't know about what. And it's like...
Because you're worried that you're going to seem...
It's going to come across as... People might think, oh, that's a bit weird.
That's weird. Or,
that's weird.
Like, what a strange guy. He can't even, it doesn't even have anything to say. But that's why I say about the second element, intention.
Yeah.
Which is if you then say to that friend, you've just sort of confronted him, it's a little bit like affronting to do that. But you say, but dude, the only reason I say that is because I care.
Yeah.
I care. I'm not doing it to call you out. I'm not doing it to try to, shindig you. I'm doing it because I really see the potential that you have. And that if you could see through this thing that you keep looping back on, then you could really go somewhere. And I want that for you. No one in the history of ever cannot find that endearing. You got someone at a point and say, oh yeah, the reason why, but I don't have anything to say, but I just feel it because I really want to chat with you, and I've always liked it when we've done it in the past, and I always find you an interesting person. You've told them your intentions, which that immediately just, the truth will set you free. Honestly, man, it's so true that when you speak your truth and you speak honestly from what you're feeling, your energy naturally flows. Yeah. It's when you're trying to put on it's when you're filtering it through so many personas that we've all developed. We've all developed shadow selves and personas and masks. And sometimes we've got masks on top of masks on top of masks. And once you start having to, you're about to say something, there's a really good book that I'd recommend called The Four Agreements. There's a fifth now. He released another book.
Right, okay.
And he's talking about there's all these voices. Your ego is like a marketplace. All these voices with all different vying opinions. When something comes up in a decision, it's like everyone in the market starts shouting. Everyone. And if you allow all those voices to be the ones that you're listening to a mob on any point. You're not going to get a common agreement.
No.
You're not going to get one. And what that does, it locks you up. It puts you in a sort of a comatose state. It pacifies you where you can't go one way or the other. And that's when you just start feeling anxious. That's when you start feeling worried. You want to say the thing, but you don't want to say the thing. Yeah. And you've got this internal conflict going on. And that's what just messes you up. Yeah. Because in that moment, you lose yourself.
You do.
You lose yourself. And that's why I think sort of distilling.
Another Novus one.
Oh, Novus. Mate, what a... I've talked about it before with you, but the notion of somebody generously giving money that they've hard earned and worked for, and something that is an extension of their energy, they share that. That's a beautiful thing, man. It more than often chokes me up. More so off stream than on, but dude, it really does mean a lot. Thank you, Pitts. You guys remind me and my friend Levi and our dynamic. Levi was like pairs. Brotherhood, friendship, family, and community is the greatest of gifts. Yeah, man, it's something that I had to come back from the world to travel. I thought I was just going to cycle the world.
I think we spoke about this last night as well, didn't we?
We spoke about that last night. I really did have an intention just to cycle around the whole world and just stay out of the game. Just that people are this complex, difficult, hard, emotionally tumultuous thing that tears your emotions this way and that, and you get lost in. And there's a side that sometimes it's so overwhelming and bombarding that there's just been times I'm gone, I'm out. You ain't gonna see me again. But honestly, it's in those breaks that when you set a sort of step out of it, you surface, get a bit of air, and then you realise why. Yeah. Why other people are...
Why they matter. And...
Why they matter, why it's important. Yeah. That no experience doesn't mean much of anything if it's not shared with other people. Yeah. I do think sometimes it's good to get that perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Change. And then there was a side of me like, I was cycling. I was like, you know what? No. I really understand it now. I really understand that all of these little dynamics, relationships, and games, and streaming, and travelling, it's all a play. Like Shakespeare said, the whole world is a stage, and everyone are just actors on the stage. And that's another thing that Hinduism, they call it Leela.
Right, okay.
Leela. They call it the sort of sages who've kind of stepped back and sort of realised, oh yeah, there's this dance going on. That there's a cosmic irony to it. It's like a joke, a performance, an illusion to it. And that actually getting entangled in it, getting lost in it, is all part of it. Yeah. It's all part of it. And that... So I feel like that's what bugs up a lot of people's mind about sort of enlightenment and pursuing clarity is at some point you get that perception that you need to go live out in a cave. Disassociated from everything. Ram Dass was a great example. That guy dropped more LSD than than you can count. Literally dropped out of university, started studying it. Then he became a Maharaji, literally lived in a mountainside. And then realised, oh no, I need to go back. And he said, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. Because it's... Now, all these monks walking around thinking that they've attained the sageless heights of realisation. Yeah, go spend a week with your family. Right. You'll see how much your patience and your sense of peace is able to stay that balanced. Because the thing, anyone can feel happy in happy times. Anyone can feel peaceful in peaceful times. But can you feel peaceful in times of hardship? Can you find happiness in moments of despair and disruption? Yeah. If you can do that, that's when you've really reached something.
Yeah. That's one thing I've come to realise is it's very easy, being introverted as well, as I've seen a few mentioned in chat, is it's very easy to take yourself off into your room and play games, but then you kind of have to ask who's challenging you on that sort of stuff. Like, there's nobody there to challenge you if you're going to put yourself in that comfort. And I'm the same as anyone. I like take myself away sometimes, but you do need people there to obviously connect with, and people to challenge you with stuff. Like,
we were chatting about bullshit and call you on your bullshit. We were saying it very much with my twin. We was discussing that thing of kind of challenging other people, and even if it does upset them, even if it does make them feel uncomfortable, they have to do something. So what? So what? And what? And I'm not saying that in an arsehole way, because if you're someone who just tries to trigger people for the sake of triggering people, well then you're an arsehole. You know what? If sometimes you see someone, you know what? I'm going to push that little button on them. For a reason. For a reason. And you need to be very, very careful and mindful when you try to do that with someone, because you don't know someone else's journey, you don't know someone else's state. But it's a powerful thing to be able to do, and I think it always works better when you have an understanding with someone. As our understanding has grown over the years, we can do it for each other. But that's when my twin sister, our understanding is, do you know what I mean? It's rock solid. It's just like down to the core. And you'll see it, my twin, she will hit me right in the spot so it hurts. And I'll do it back to her. But it's all done with love, and we always come back with well, that's the thing, you have to come back and explain why you did that thing. If you don't do that, it's fine. But she will. Sometimes I will be scared to go to my twin about something, because I know she's going to give me the rawest of truths. She will give me the thing that I am not seeing, and the question is, am I man enough to go and see it? and that's how approaching my twin sister is on those fronts. I don't know if you guys have a person like that in your life, or if you're that kind of person. Do you just spit the truths at someone? Or do you have that person who does it back to you?
I'm just trying to keep up.
My internal and external person are pretty much the same for the most part. That's a pretty good state, Wu-Tai Nation. Really good state to be in.
Yeah, I've just seen a chat between Kara and Uchiha. I resonate with quite a bit in terms of, I think I mentioned you a few times about people being too, because I feel I'm too quiet, that I don't think people like me. I get the feeling that people get the wrong impression of me for it. So when you're at a party and because you're a quiet person, you immediately start thinking that people think you're off. Like, it's very easy to mix it up, I think, if you're a shy person and people see, because you're not outgoing, they think, oh, you're just being standoffish with everyone. Like, it's... And I get that.
But like, the thing is, we discussed that, and I tried not to sugarcoat it to you. I had to be real with you, because it's like, I understand when you go into long periods of silence. There'll be times we'll be sat, and usually I'll be the one who leads to a conversation. Sometimes on this trip, I'll be like, I'm going to sit back. 20 minutes of silence will pass. And I can tell Ginge, he's not used to it. He doesn't know where to go with it, and I can see the want, so I'll sit back and I'll wait, and then I'll see you pull out some like little ploy that you'll usually do, which is in a social situation, you'll kind of dip in, you'll give you a little bit of input, but then you'll retract away. And these are little mechanisms that I notice in you that you've developed over the years, and some of them make up the good parts, the fabric of your personality, some of the ones that I know inhibit you.
Yeah.
So I will sometimes intentionally hold off, 20 minutes will pass, and then I'll see you do a little defense tactic, which is you'll throw out some, maybe we should go film something. No, that's not what you're thinking. Not what you're thinking. That's not what you're thinking, and that's not what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And I'll do it because I know that there's a side to you that wants to come out more.
Yeah, and, of course.
You know, it's part of, we did the human design charts. I don't know if you guys have ever done human design. Some of it's very, very scarily accurate.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. For me, that idea of sort of gravitating towards people that I can have challenging, fulfilling, sort of forward-moving experiences with, that's very much my fire. Sometimes that fire can be like, we're just trying to chill out, man. And I'm like, let's go! So that's part of my flawed human design, but it's also part of my pro. Yours is that you will wait to be invited in.
I'm like a vampire.
Yeah.
He's invited me in.
He is, he's a vampire. He has to be invited in before he's allowed in. But once he's in, once you're in, then you find your place, and then you're really valuable to it. A really valuable contribution to the thing. But the problem is, man, we live in a world where, you can't always wait to be invited in. Because you know what? The world's a little bit selfish. There's not many invites being handed out, unfortunately.
And people will step on you. I'm not saying everybody's like this, but you see it in the workplace all the time. If you're not as outgoing and you're going for a promotion or something like that, or you'll get somebody who's much more extroverted in that regard will step forward and usually get the job, or
that's
because they've got that.
That's the thing.
They're not afraid to step on people, and I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but it's.
Yeah, and it's something that I've noticed as somebody who could be extroverted, is that while I am super extroverted and I'd be able to socialise with everyone, my mind always recognised that person who isn't, and not necessarily listening to the loudmouth motherfucker who's overcompensating with their skills and their attributes, and actually being like, no, introverted, quiet people can have some of the best traits.
Yeah.
You just got to have more of a care and attention to recognise it. And it does frustrate me, even somebody who doesn't suffer under introverted qualities necessarily. I've never felt myself on the back foot of things. I don't know why. It's something that I still strongly empathise with, and that I feel I wish the world didn't work that way. We're bullshitters and linguistic buttholes kind of rule the roost a bit. And I'm one of them. That's the funny thing about it. That's the funny thing about it. Oh yeah, but that was the thing I kind of didn't sugarcoat for you. But I know you, dude. I know you. To other people who don't know you, if you're walking around the party and you ain't saying shit and you're sat in your own space, are they going to read that as that's an unsociable guy who's being standoffish? Yeah. Sometimes they will.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's also the thing. People are making blunt judgments about people. Anyone who does that, anyone who makes surface value, they've just met you or they're seeing you across the room and they're making on the fly sort of concrete judgments about you in their mind, they're not the kind of people you want to be around anyway. They're not the kind of people you want to be around.
No.
Anyone who reckons that they could just see a person and be like, yeah, that's the kind of person you are, and that there isn't more nuance to them, people would see me and they'd be like, oh yeah, we're arrogant, what an arrogant, loudmouth prick. And then they would ascribe other things like, yeah, he's probably selfish and he's probably narcissistic. Would you say I'm selfish and narcissistic?
No, not at all.
I really wasn't sure what I really wasn't sure what you were going to answer then. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
I think Alan Watts said it once. Alan Watts said it. That everybody's opinion, how you perceive yourself, is completely different to anybody else. Like, even two different people that you know could perceive you as a completely different person to how you feel you are. Which is a weird thing to get your head around as well. Like, that you're not necessarily the person you think you are in front of other people.
Yeah. Well, it's that, you're not who you think you are. You're not who they think you are. You are who you think they think you are.
Yeah.
You build your self-image in the shape of how you think other people see you. Which that is a straight line to wrecked city, unfortunately.
Extroverts' weaknesses: don't listen when unhealthy. Introverts don't talk when unhealthy. Yeah.
Yeah. 100, man. I don't know about you, but for me, being extrovert as fuck too, there's still an introvert side of me. I sometimes become and really empathise with introverts too. That's the thing. I'm 50-50.
You've swapped. I think when you've
I've swapped. I've literally gone back and forth on that Myers-Briggs test. ENTP, E standing for extrovert, for years. Then I literally did the test again because I felt myself. I was becoming an introvert. I didn't want to speak to people. I was suddenly having confidence issues I'd never had before with speaking to people. And it was so... Well, while I always had those introverted traits, I'd never felt them be the dominant aspect of me. And all of a sudden, when I felt myself... I don't even want to show up on like stream. It was part of the big hiatus that I'd taken. The real struggle I had with showing up on it. And it was so weird to me. I was like, I love going on streams. I love just... letting it out. All of a sudden, I was just getting fucking anxieties about it, and not anxiety, just anxieties, mild ones. And it was really holding me back. And then I did the test again, and it was like INTP, and it was like, oh, I actually shifted into the phase I'm more identifying with my introvert, and that felt horrible, uncomfortable. I started having very self-depreciating thoughts about myself that I didn't really have before. And it sent me down a very quick, like little spiral. And now I've like come through that. I see how I hated it at the time, but I see how valuable it was because it showed me even more. You know, things in your personality that you generally take for granted, that you kind of naturally already have. Like if you haven't really had to cultivate or facilitate your own self-image. Your own self-love, if that's not something... Now, some people, they literally do. They're literally just born in the world, not to an unhealthy degree where they love themselves narcissistically. Where it's just like, they're content with how they are. Yeah. That's great. And they've never had to go through the struggle of it. And that's nice and all, but it is always great when you do. That's why I love struggle now. That's why I throw myself in a situation of suffering. So it's like, wow, there's just one extra, notch on the things that I can relate to. Just one extra perspective that I've gained. One other thing I've had to work with, and that's so valuable, man. Escalate. Hey, mate. Yeah, you're an ENTP too.
I can't remember what I am now. Actually, when I did it, I think it's changed.
Wait, you was ISFJ. Well, you've had a big change then, Uchia. And would you say, so you went from ISFJ to ENTP?
That's pretty big.
Have you felt, and does that relate with your natural feelings? That's the thing, I don't necessarily assign to these personality tests too much. It's like adding an extra label to yourself. I think it is. It's like Jude being like, my personality being someone who has to be invited in. Yeah. If you believe in that too much, then you're going to limit yourself because you're like, I'm this thing. Yeah. I can't start projects until it's piggybacking off of someone else's, and you don't want that.
No.
So when people, some people do
yeah.
that to even more ridiculous degrees. They start being like, "I'm a star seed. I'm a Pleiades child," or even if you start thinking you're woke, because I get woke culture. I get why people hate woke culture, even though somebody who I would say I ascribe to having a spirituality to my belief system, very much so, and that's something I work on. I more than understand why people hate woke culture, because it's people who have attached these labels of attainment or arrogance, and that's the first freaking trap, man. It's the first trap. It's what meditators come across first. You have a meditate, and the meditate takes you some deep places. You're like, oh, I've got it. What you're going to suffer for that little thought there is you're going to suffer 100 hours of meditations where you haven't got it, where you're sat there and you're anxious and you're fidgety, and you know what? You're even more bothered by it now, because when you were meditating before, you were going into some of these zenny states, and now you can't get back to it. And that's going to mess you up, man. Yeah. And it's messing you up because you allowed yourself to get lost in the, I'm this. It's like when you get that job promotion. You go, oh, I'm now this. I've reached this status. I've reached, and you wear it with like, and it's hard because of course it's good to be proud of things that you've achieved. It's good to be proud and celebrate things. But if you don't do it with the right temperance to it, what happens when you get demoted? What happens when you get fired? You will suffer 10x harder because you allowed yourself to attach this new label to yourself. People are doing that all over the place. They're attaching labels because people are trying to figure out who they are, and we think it's done through an acquisition process. It ain't. That's the first fallacy of life. Going through life trying to find what you are by attaching an external. Whether that's an external group, an external, oh, it's my nation, it's my football team, it's this, it's that. No. The whole point to what's going to lead you to who you really are is unattaching from labels. Get rid of all of the labels. Strip yourself back, because who you really are, it doesn't exist up here. It doesn't exist up here. It's not in your head. It's not something that, anything that you can think into creation can be destroyed. And who you really are at its core, the reason why it's who you really are is because it's the constant of who you are. It's not something that changes. It's not something that you can tweak and add a new label to.
Yeah.
Because if who you really are was something as superficial as that, well, then it wouldn't be as fulfilling when you really find it. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be that voice that constantly guides you through your life. It's the totality of your being. And nurture and nature play a big role in that. But I think there's a version of you that goes beyond nurture and nature as well. That's the version that most people don't quite realise that they can tap into. It's like people who can't really follow their intuition. People who struggle with really figuring out what their moral compass is. These are like the principles that are really valuable to you. I feel like once you've got a grasp of what those principles are, damn, you can then start adjusting. Like, okay, so what's my purpose? If these are my principles, what is my purpose? How can I do something that fits my purpose and my natural talents and my natural skills and things I find joy from, while also keeping it in line with your principles? Because those can be at odds, man. Those can be odds. That's why I had to quit working at BAE. It ran against my principles. It's a great job, but I was building aircrafts, a freaking military-industrial complex. That doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't. I don't give a shit if you're going to sit there and tell me that, because everything would come across my desk as a defense contract. It's like, defense. Yeah, defense my ass. Defense my ass. Like, there is like a genuine defense aspect. This is not how it's being used. Right. I always feel like I've been awkward to talk to, mainly because news about the stuff I talk about are stuff they aren't interested in. Well, that's all I can think about talking about to people, because I'm excited about it. That's the thing. It depends whether or not do you know that they're not interested in it, or do you think they're not interested? And I usually find that good people, they get passionate about things if the other person is passionate. A good friend, or a good partner, they should be passionate because you're passionate.
Yeah.
I've known such selfish partners who, they shit on the thing that really brings their partner joy. If you're not the kind of person who you get joy when somebody's, even if it's something you don't understand, it's something you don't even care about, if someone's coming in talking to me, and I've been in this situation. I've had some old dude come up to me while I was cycling and talking with just pure joy about the bird watching he's done that day. And I'm in it with him.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, go on, carry on. Tell me about that kind of bird.
Yeah.
Tell me about how rare they are and the ecosystem that's going on. Generally, I feel like you're the kind of person you get joy just for joy itself, or for Purple Rain, of which I get joy. I get great joy. Wow! Wow! Daddy Novus indeed. Daddy, grandfather, and Archduke. That's making me choke. Damn, man. Thank you. You should set a day where just sit down and have a conversation like this. Just one day a week, 2 weeks. Just my opinion. See, whenever I thought about it, I've always been like, but I don't know what I necessarily speak about. But then whenever we start doing it, we just go down tangents.
I think it's...
And
sometimes
I'm doing oh my God, I'm doing the same thing. I honestly, you know why I don't make certain content? I'm like, is this going to be interesting? Is this going to have enough juice to it? Is this going to have enough? I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I ain't even practicing what I preach, but I know YouTube's a bit different, right? You got not everything can be a ramble, and I know what I'm saying. I've not learned this lesson.
No, I'd be up for doing more of this, though. I think it's...
Just speak about shit.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be anything planned. If people want to come forward with stuff and we can discuss topics and things like that. And
well, that's why we're chatting more about just getting the GoPro, getting a SIM card and just going out and about.
Yeah.
There's a really cool little island just out of our place.
Yeah, we need to get to it.
And we just want to like hit there at sunset. I'm just imagining like taking a few brews.
No, not like it will cut, the tide will cut us off and we'll get stuck out there.
And that'll be so fun. Us stranded on an island because the tides came in. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Ginger's been pretending to listen for 3 hours now. I've been listening. I always take everything in. I think that's one of my strong points, Chris, is I feel like I'm a good listener at that respect anyway. I may not always have something to add to it, but...
I can honestly say that.
If anybody,
that is the dealio with Ginger.
If anybody wants to talk to me about anything, I'm the sort of person I will always lend an ear to somebody. And
yeah, there's been numerous times where we'll be at a party and I very much recognised it with Ginger in the early days. Is like when you're more like when you're younger and you've not really established the long-term friends, which usually gets narrower and narrower as time goes on. When you're still at that stage, we've got like a whole wide array of mates, and you get them all together. And what usually happens is people get in a room, and what I found is the quality of conversation reduces to the lowest denominator in the room, which typically ends up being people bitching about work. People having a fucking moan or whinge or talking about some dumb shit that's happened on the internet or the news, or I don't know, just very, very hollow, like talk PC kind of conversations. I still see my twins friends. She struggled much later in life. She held on to those friendship groups, and now at the age of nearly 30, she's like, oh, yeah, I really don't want to go hang out with these people. Whenever we go there, they just chat about X and they bitch about Z, and they talk about her who just didn't show up at the party, which best believe means that when you're not the one at the party, they're talking about you. And she was like, oh, I'm so done with them. And thing is, when I'm in those kind of environments, I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to go off the deep end. And I will start chatting. I will start going out there, won't I?
Yeah.
And there'll be people in the room be like, what the hell? Why is he actually talking about sort of like really sort of personal, emotive sort of stuff? Like, why is he talking about the purpose and the meaning of life and all this sort of stuff? And they'll all sort of turn off and switch off. I always noticed people in the area who get it, and you'd always be one of them. You'd be the one who'd be like, listening, you'd be like, getting it. And then I think that's how we ended up sort of gravitating towards each other because you usually kind of had that mind, that framework of mind to you, but you're somebody who's just not pushed it because you've lived in a social part of the social bubble, which kind of keeps everybody in here. Where nobody's really saying the unspoken things. No one's actually saying the real thing that's sort of going on. But I've always found it weird when I'm in rooms and it's like there's the real conversation that's happening, and then there's like the subtext of the conversation that's happening. And I always notice it so starkly, and it bugs me out, man. It bugs me. It's like holding in the sneeze until I address it. Like that's why there's in times if there's ever been beef towards us, I just called that shit out straight away, right? I've literally dragged him back into a room at times. in Japan specifically, I dragged him back into the room. I was like, get your butt back in here. We are chatting this out, man. We're chatting this out. I don't like unspoken flair.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, I think I would say our group of sort of our little group now, like obviously me, you, Jade, Tom, and Carl, like we're all very similar in that respect. Like in terms of we have those conversations, don't we? We're not afraid to, especially around Jade and Tom's. Like we do have conversations, or there's conversations that go on which aren't. We don't hold back. We're all very comfortable with it and things like that, which is nice.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm sure you guys have had that process, right? Over the years, as you've become old, you've kind of I guess you filtered out the people that you surround yourself by, right? I'm sure you've all had so many experiences, cutting people out, letting people go. Like, okay, yeah. I don't like doing it because sometimes I think I do it too much. I have done it too much in the past, but there's also a natural process of it happening.
yeah.
Has to happen. All right, well, I think I actually better go chat to Bree. It was actually her last day at work today.
Is it? Oh, she's finished.
She's finished today.
So is it?
Yeah. So she comes out.
Shit.
I'm never going to get old. I have the same mentality, man. My face will. I mean, look at this. Look at this forehead, man. I look like a wizened sack.
I think the hairdresser did a pretty good job making you look younger yesterday.
My face will age, my body will degrade and decay.
Just get Jade to give you some Botox.
Mate, I've already had it. It didn't do anything.
Still got the frown.
Still got the frown.
The brown frown.
The brown frown. Yeah, 2021 in May. With age comes wisdom, if one allows. That's the hope, right? Wisdom is the only asset that's really worth accumulating, and you really can't accumulate too much of it. Wisdom.
Never stop trying to accumulate it. And never feel like you know too much, because the people that think they know everything that are going to stumble more.
Oh, yeah.
In life.
Yeah, for sure. The more open-minded you just roll with things, the easier the process will be, the less your ass will get kicked.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we went for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
That just happened in a blink. That's crazy. We may pop on. It'll be a crazy-ass time, probably.
Yeah.
And fight some bosses.
Yeah.
I don't know what time it'll
around.
For you guys. It'll probably be a whole different set of peeps. But I do want to kill those bosses today.
Yeah.
Those goddamn elementals!
This stream is good. I'll be
completely honest, guys. After that fight yesterday, How much did I stay on afterwards?
We were on it for quite a bit.
I was addicted, man. I could not let the controller go.
Just one more go.
Just one more go. One more.
And we did get it down, but we didn't obviously finish it.
Almost immediately. It wasn't long after the stream. Slayed it.
We didn't kill it though, so it's still there.
I need to learn how to bring. I still don't know why I can't bring that learning process onto streams properly. Because you do it off stream, you learn the mechanics of the fight so much quicker. Then you're on stream, and I don't know what it is. Because it's not that I'm uncomfortable. It's not that I'm not. I don't know. Maybe it's that part of your brain is filtered somewhere else. I don't know. But I got it almost immediately. And I also noticed a lot of things in the combat. Always the way when you stream offline, you notice things in the combat that you were just otherwise sleeping on, big time. Anyway, I need to pee. We need to bounce. Novus is a ledge. That was the 16 news.
Bless you all.
Something about representation.
It was 16 news, wasn't it?
Yeah. First time chat from veteran. Hey, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Hello, veteran.
Hello and goodbye. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for whatever this stream was. It was random as hell.
It was fun.
It was fun.
And I'd like to do another one at some point.
Yeah. Please donate 1,000 gil to my foundation. Oh no, it's gone. The comic's gone.
Don't look a day over 60. Youthfulness. He's a Dunedain warrior.
Yeah. Alright, peace out, beautifuls.
See you on the next live stream, guys.
I've never hydrated this much on a stream.
Yeah, I know, you've bottled.
Finished like a whole bottle. I just kept drinking for some reason, and now I'm going to pee my pants. Alright, peace out, Alexandra. I am Zero. Ravnik, Shelby.
Novus.
Novus, you're a ledge. Thank you, mate.
Alexandria. Kyrie.
Chris.
Come on. Okay.